Happy Thursday, rock lovers! Are you ready to learn something new? Welcome to tonight's Cut and Chat, a live and interactive rock cutting and polishing demo. My name's Lynette Kong from Highland Park's marketing team, and thank you for joining us tonight. We are excited that you can join us here, and we hope that we can help take your cutting and polishing skills to new heights. Tonight, Zeke and Tay will be teaching us how to cut a variety of rocks, as well as give you in-depth information on different Highland Park equipment and how you can use them to build your own dream shop. If you're new to our live events, or you just want to say hi, please drop something on the chat so I can acknowledge you. Hi, Peter. Hi, Kim. Hi, Paul. Hello, Lauren. Yep. We would also like to invite everyone watching us online to join us here in our VIP Zoom room by signing up using the link that you are seeing. We're super excited to get this cut and chat started, so let's dive right into some guidelines. There are two ways to ask your questions. First, you can put your questions on the chat. The chat box can be found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Make sure to send your chat to everyone so we can see them. A member of the HBL team will read your questions to Zeke out loud. For those who are watching us on Facebook, you can enter your questions in the comment section, and someone from the HBL team will read your questions to Zeke. Second, to make this cut and chat more interactive, you can ask Zeke your question yourself. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a button that says Reactions. Click on that button, and you will see an option that says Raise Hand. When you raise your hand, a member of the HBL team will unmute you, and you will receive a prompt saying, "The host is asking you to unmute." Click on Unmute, and you will be able to ask Zeke your question. After you ask your question, we will lower your hand and mute you so the next person in line can ask his or her question. If you have a new question later or during the show, you can raise your hand again. We will be alternating unmuting people and asking questions from the chat so everyone gets a fair chance of their questions being answered. For the Wheel of Fortune giveaway, if the initial winner isn't here, we will re-spin the wheel until a winner who is present in the room is selected. So now get ready to learn cutting and polishing techniques, ask your technical questions, and have tons of fun. To officially start tonight's cut and chat, please welcome our rock and duo, Mineral Maestro Zeke the Rimple and rock lover Tay Rowland.
Hello, all. Sorry, ooh, you're gonna be stuck with just me for a couple seconds as Zeke finishes setting up everything. We're just kind of crunching right now. We had to deal with unexpected things that we didn't think we'd have to set up before the live show, so we've been doing that in the past like 10 minutes. And our light just over here, I look a little rough right now. Our light just died, so we have half the amount of lighting as we wanted. Today we will be focusing on the PT trim saw right next to me and the wet belt sander. A lot of people last night requested to see the wet belt sander, and have a little walkthrough of how to use it, best like strategies on how to do dome polishing, flash polishing, and all of that. I also like the Rock and Duo. I thought that was very cute. You should thank the team for that one. Zeke's been trying to rebrand a little bit. Mineral Maestro over here. Look at him go. Aw, thank you, Ed. So, first things first, before we get started, can I answer any questions that anyone has been wondering about the wet belt sander or the PT? I'm buying Zeke a little time. Oh, he always looks a little suspicious walking around. You know, I'd cross the street if I saw you, Zeke. Intimidating. I'd cross the street if I saw you. Never mind. He has the ears of not someone who can hear. Anyways, any questions before we get started? as I manhandle my phone. Zeke,
Yes.
come hither.
Hi, y'all. How are y'all doing? Not sneaky so much as just panicky. And Shane, Darwin will get this recorded. How to change the pad on the sander with cerium. On the wet belt sander? Hi, Vicky. I'm doing good.
I think so, on the leather portion.
You know, honestly, I've never changed it out. I've never had a need to. Those things last forever.
I do know how to put the pad on, the new leather side on and how to wire it on.
Oh, okay. Well, you
I'm
talk
the one
about
who
it
built all the kits.
Oh, look at you. Oh,
So-
charge it.
Oh,
Sorry.
charge.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. I do know how to show you that because I used it a bunch. I just never changed one.
I know how to change them.
So we'll see. Look at that. We got you both covered. All right. Well, I'm still setting up over here. I have some belt drift when the water flows is more than the minimum. We're going to talk about the belt drift because I know several people are having problems with the belt drifting. It does take a little practice on how to get used to that, but it's fairly easy. I think the biggest mistake 99% of people make is they overcorrect the belt tension. And so they'll have it drift one way and they'll turn the knob a bunch to get it to go back, and then they overcorrect and they drive themselves nuts getting it going back and forth. I know that the first time I used it, it was a little finicky. But they're pretty easy to adjust. Hey, Carl. All right, well, I'm getting the wet belt sander plugged in. We can just go over here and look at it, start talking about it.
All right, we're gonna switch cameras. You get a POV video of me walking around. Don't join audio. There we go. Here we have this is one of our tanks for our pumps.
This is the stainless steel baffle tank. So this is what we recirculate the water through. So the dirty water will go into this side, and you got these baffles, and it can flow through the top there and then go into your clean side. This one's a little bit dirty. It needs to be totally scrubbed out, but it's good enough for now. Shut the water off so we're not flooding the belt for no reason. Which also means I'm flooding the floor because my hose is not sitting in anything.
Oh no.
So let me get this turned around. Pulled back in here. The lab is an absolute mess because we're getting things all moved around. Getting ready to move into our new space. So I apologize for the disastrous mess. Next time you guys are, well, not next time, but hopefully in the next few weeks, this will all look amazing and nice and fun, and it won't look like this disaster that's chaotic everywhere.
We are moving out of this space. This is a temporary space. We're having studios built as we speak. I call it the garage shop. Because it kind of looks like a garage where you kind of, like those garages where you just throw your stuff and forget about it. We have some of that going on here, but it's all lapidary equipment. What? Alas.
Wait a second. What are you talking about?
This is the prime criminal
It was a mess
garage.
when I got here, I just have not made any improvements on the messiness. But it was a mess when I got here.
Evidently. I feel like I'm just like following, like follow the duck, follow the leader. Yeah.
I'm just trying to gather up belts.
All right. Zeke is grabbing the belts, and the first thing we'll show you on the wet belt sander is probably switching out the belts.
What's that?
First thing, we should probably switch out the belt, or do you have the coarse grind on there now?
Let's see. This is my favorite for doing the coarse grind. This is not one we sell, but this is an electroplated diamond belt. Super aggressive. Absolutely love this thing. This makes it feel like you got like a hard diamond grinding wheel. But let's change this out. This one, I do have the hood set low on this one. I like it a little bit lower, not as much water overspray, but this is adjustable. If you look at the back here, there's two screws. You can just lift the camera over. You can see these two screws right here. If you turn these in, it'll make it so the hood sits up higher. So if you're using like the little flat plate, you want this to sit up a little higher. But for me, I like it sitting down very low because I'm doing most of my work right here on this face. But to change out our wheel or our belt, I'm just going to lift the hood. I'm going to pull down on the handle, slide it off, Let's see. I think this is a 220 grit. Nah, that's gotta be coarser than 220. That's like 100 grit.
I thought it was like 20, maybe.
Could be. That's close. This is a 60 grit. Yeah, we should probably polish an agate or something. Do a little dome polish. I got an agate. Let me grab.
We get to pick an agate. Are these some that you've done, Zeke?
I'll grab an agate. I know what.
All right.
So I'm gonna just slide it on the bottom there. And then I'm gonna lift it up over the top, slide it on. And I like to stick my hand underneath and squeeze both sides so that it gets the belt lined up on the bottom perfectly.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I blocked it. There you go.
All right. And then so it's just lined up on the bottom. And then it should self-adjust when we line it up. But slowly turn it on. You can see it's running pretty straight. Now you turn this the opposite direction you want the belt to go. So if I want the belt to go this way, I'm going to turn clockwise. If I want the belt to go this way, right. If I want the belt to go this way, do counterclockwise. So I'm going to turn the belt, get it lined up. Now the other thing I do, now see I overcorrected it. You can see it coming back the other way now. The other thing I do is I'll take and bop the handle like that a few times because it can get hung up and then adjust when you start grinding on it. So by bopping it, you know you're getting it lined up. So that's running really true right there. Now, several people have told me they're having problems when they turn on the water, the belt moves. I've really not had that problem. Like that's full water spray, about high pressure as you would go, and the belt is not adjusting. I know people do get problems when they over tighten the tension. So I really do not keep the tension high. It's fairly low tension on there. And sometimes I'll even take it out a little bit further than that. You don't need crazy tight on there. But if you do, the belt's also stretched. So if you're using it for a while, it is going to get a little bit longer and it might get a little more drift. Then you can adjust it and dial it in again. But a lot of the problem people have is they get it going too far one way. So you can see like we're way off right there. Here, change me places so that you get it too far off one way and then they overcorrect. They'll crank this down and now they'll go back the other way. And so it's coming off the other side. And that can drive people crazy too. So I always say make little small adjustments.
Could you explain what you mean when you say you change the tension?
The tension, this spring right here changes the tension on the belt. So you tighten this down. And what that does is it makes the belt tighter. It puts more pressure on there. So it pulls the belt a little bit tighter. So if I'm doing the coarser grits, I will actually go a little bit tighter because that'll make the wheel feel harder than if it's loose. And on the softer grits, or if I'm trying to do more of a curve, I'll loosen it up a little bit, and that allows me to get a little more concave, where the belt rolls around the surface.
To dumb it down a little bit, when you tension the belt, you're adjusting this barrel to either go a little up or a little bit down, and it makes this either very like high tension, it won't bend in, it will be like a flatter surface like Zeke said. Low tension means it has more give. You can get softer corners or do dumps.
Yeah, so this really aggressive wheel, if we crank the tension in and get it really tight, it'll make this feel like a hard wheel. So I'll show you grinding this. I'll grab an agate here and we'll just go through one. I think I got enough belts here to polish something. Maybe. We'll see.
You got a couple belts.
Well, I think all of them are coarse grits.
I
I don't think we grabbed any fine grit belts.
thought there was a 600 grit in there.
But you see also changing the tension, it also moved it back over a little bit. So now that the tension's changed, I'm going to adjust the belt a little bit. And it does get harder to adjust the belt when the tension's high. So I do cheat sometimes. And I'll take and put a wrench on this. Now you got to be careful not to loosen this. But I will take and do that and adjust it a little bit so I don't have to use my hand. I'm sure that's one thing that I can already hear John saying you shouldn't do that. But
I'm saying you shouldn't do that.
why should you not do that?
You risk just loosening it, and you could like there are risks when you unloosen bolts you shouldn't unloosen on the saw when it wasn't purposed to do that.
So listen to Tay, but that's what I do if I can't move it by hand when it's really high tension.
The look I'm giving him.
All right, I'll get that turned a little bit more. Give it a couple pops. You see, I overcorrected it. Now it's coming the other way after I give it a couple little smacks. So I'm gonna move it back the other way. Give it a final little adjustment. All right, that is good to go. Let me grab
All
that
right.
maggot. We'll start grinding away on one.
And I will wander over here and look at a couple questions. Do you sell the diamond 60 grit belt you showed? We do not sell the 60 grit. Oh my God, I did not know you were behind me.
That was very close. I get it from his Glassworks. I am trying to get John to make those belts because they're very expensive. So I am trying to get John to make that so we can make them at a better price. But his Glassworks is where I get the electroplated diamond belt, and then the resin diamond belts that I use I get from Johnson Brothers Lapidary. Also not a fan, but those are the best ones I've found so far. So. James, can you message someone with a little HPL in front of their name, like John or Darwin or Noreen, and they can help you out? We don't have the ability to help you if you message us directly.
We don't have a keyboard.
All right, let me grab an agate. I know I got a nice 1976.
All right.
Oh, you know what else I do? I have. I know. But what I was just thinking is I do have a couple little pieces of the Idaho Sunset. We could polish a little face on that, but I'll let you guys vote. A 1970s or the Idaho Sunset. It doesn't help that both of them are dry, but 70s Idaho Sunset.
One for the sunset, one for the
You guys are just totally mixed.
we could do a little bit of both.
All right.
We'll do a little bit of both.
All right,
Take
well,
choice out of the equation.
What a hard life. I gotta pick with actually.
No, don't let him keep looking. No, put it down. Oh my God, he's made a decision on his own.
Well, that's pretty. All right, we got our very coarse wheel here, and I apologize. The lights are not working properly.
Ed, you're sounding a lot like Carl there.
And I do not run this with the valve all the way open. I open it just enough that the water starts running across there. I don't want to drench it, and by not opening it up all the way, I don't wind up with a ton of overspray.
Why should you not run too much water?
Well, so there's two reasons. You don't have all the overspray. And the other reason is you can actually hydroplane the diamond. So especially on the polishing grits. Why are you like going up? I'm not making me feel so short. When you get like so let's say you're using a 3000 grit belt and you're flooding it with water, and this goes to the same for the cabbing wheels, by the way. If you have a ton of water on there, you're not actually grinding, you're just hydroplaning the wheel across the water or the rock across the wheel. So by getting just the right amount, like this for grinding is about perfect right here. And when we go to polishing, I'll actually use less water. And you look how open the valve is. So you can see it's not very open. All right, well, these will go quick, so let's grind these away. One of the other things I wanted to talk about.
Before you continue, I'm going to grab a light because it's a little hard to see for them.
Okay, go grab a light.
I'll be right back. Sorry, the mic is attached to me. Our other mic died. So you guys are hooked at the hip with me.
Well, that's nice. I like having a personal light right here to look at. Makes it very bright. One of the things I was going to say, if I push on this side of the wheel, you can see it move over a little bit. And vice versa. If I push on this side, you can see it move over a little bit, but it tends to recenter after it does, or you can give it a couple of bops and it'll recenter a little bit. So, but it's not the end of the world if it goes to the sides a little. I like the juggling act that Tay's doing. There we go. So on this face, I'm just working it to get it smooth. You can see we got a big rough spot right there in the middle still. The other thing you want to take note of is if you just work one direction like this when you're doing a dome, it'll kind of have a weird wavy look to it, a weird curve where you're just grinding. So that's why I change directions periodically so that I get more of a uniform dome. I'm not really pushing that hard. I mean, I'm pushing a decent amount, but not a ton of force. And I'm also resting my hands on the edge of this lip right here so that I can control it. The other thing to think about, like on this one, where it's not a fortification agate, it's a seam agate, is I am slanting it up like that. So if you were sitting it down like this, it would present better. You'd be able to see it better. Like just as an extreme example, if you put it that way, it doesn't show at all if you had it on a shelf. But if you just have it sitting flat, it would still show better that way, which is why I'm slanting it up from so the pattern's oriented that way. And when we do something like this, I'll dome it more evenly all the way around.
How do you use the back plate?
The back plate, well, for me personally, the only time I really use this is when I'm doing cabochons to do the backs of the cabs. I'll hold them up here to do that. But if I was doing like this agate, for instance, I would take now it will take a lot longer to grind this flat than into a dome. So like this one, if I was gonna polish it flat, I'd probably take a small cut off of it first, because that would take a long time. But that is how I'd use the backplate. And notice I'm not just going side to side, but I'm actually rocking it back and forth to change the direction the diamond is hitting the face. So I'll roll it. And then if I was working on this piece, I would turn it. When we get into a little bit of finer grits, I'll grab one of those Gamberries that we cut and show you guys. But I wouldn't, if I was doing a flat polish, I wouldn't start with such an aggressive wheel. Because there's no reason to. It would be more aggressive than the blade cut. So I would actually be making worse scratches than the saw blade. So for this one, I'm shaping the rock, doing this dome, which is why I'm using such an aggressive wheel. If I was starting with the cut face, I'd start with like 220 grit.
Is it better to use the bottom of the wheel for doming or not?
Well, so you have the middle line here where the arbor is. You want to work in this 25% radius. So if you have a circle, and you imagine the center line of the circles where the arbors are going across, you're going to use 25% of the circle. So you're going to use from about the center here down to about here. You don't want to be sticking your hand underneath. That's dangerous. In fact, I have a scar right there from sticking my hand underneath the wheel on a cab machine and ripping the skin off.
So, what do you tell customers on safety?
We don't stick our hands under there.
There you go.
So,
Good.
so and it's also it's more convenient, especially if you're resting your hands on the edge of the lip here, to use this area right here. But mainly, I'm using this area right here. The other really cool thing about this back plate, let me see if I have a file or a hammer.
Like, give it there. Or take it.
I'll just take it with me. That way I can keep talking and they can hear what I'm saying. Oh, here's the file. Oh, even better one. A file.
Okay. Don't put the file in the bin.
But now I know where it is. Walking problem.
Bane of my existence.
All right, so on this, I wouldn't do this with the silicon carbide ones or the resin diamond ones. Blinded by Tay, thank you. But because this one is electroplated diamond, you can actually use this back plate to sharpen this wheel. So it's a little bit harder with the file. I prefer to have a peening hammer, but I'll take this. And because I have that hard plate, I can use this to go around and shatter the diamond. So it should cut a little bit better. Now, I wouldn't hit super hard on this plate. And if you're worried about damaging this plate, you can still do it on this. But the plate does give you a harder surface to do it on. But don't be hitting so hard that you're denting this.
Lights on.
I don't know, they're not working. All right, so that should give us a little bit more aggressive feel. Then we'll turn our water back to about the same level. And to go back, look at this one. We do still have a spot right there. I want to finish before I move on to that other agate. So I'm going to keep working this one. Well, yes, because I'm usually cutting production so to make money, like when I had my own shop. So I would line up and I do 100 pieces like this at a time. I'd do every one of them on one grit. So I'd have it set up is I'd have a bucket on this side of me and a bucket on this side of me. I would grab one out of this bucket, work it till it looked good, set it in that bucket. And when that bucket was full, I would switch, go to the next thing and go back and forth with them. Or if it was cabs, I would set a little tray here and a little tray over here. And I'd grab out of this tray, work my cab, put it in this tray. When I was done, working back the other way.
So, for those in production.
Yes.
You tell them I'm standing far away from the mic.
Oh, sorry. Tay is standing far away from the mic. That's accurate. He's been in the garage when I've been sitting there doing cabs. All right. So you can see, I mean, how scratched up the surface doesn't really matter on this piece because we're on our first step. But what I'm looking for is uniformity across the face there. I like how it looks, presents well, sits nice. You could wrap this around further, but honestly, we'll probably end up cutting that face off anyway because there's still a lot of material there. Let me finish this one, showing you going around and doing the whole thing. On these nodules, I'm rocking them when I'm doming them. Now on this high spot though, I'm working it down a little bit more, but as I get this down, I'll continue to rotate it. Now, one thing to be careful of is if you notice, I'm not working right up to the edge when I'm pushing hard. Because if I push hard right there, I can catch the edge here and send the rock flying. And that is also not good. That's actually how I got this scar, was like the rock flew under the wheel and I didn't turn it off and stuck my hand under, and I wind up with a nice bloody mess.
Hey Zeke.
Huh?
Carl has a question.
Yes, Carl.
Carol, she
Carol,
asked,
sorry.
what level of water are you using? Is it 1/4 or 1/2 or 3/4 of the full setting?
Am I using what now?
level of water are you using?
What level? How open the valve is? About a quarter of the way, maybe a quarter to a third. And yes, Sarah, ouch is correct. I don't have enough water in that.
I can hear.
The other thing to keep note of is not to get your knuckles too close, because you will grind little spots on there in the tips of your thumb. So I am working a little close when I'm holding it like that. That's not ideal, right? So I mean, generally it would be better to hold it back here, but I am a little bit more used to holding it up closer like that. And on this, I'm making sure I'm getting the pattern all the way around there. It's just working to get that flat side. And then the reason I did not cut this one is because the pattern goes right up to the edge there. So I'm trying to keep it a full specimen. Things I'm just working it to get down so that we get this rough spot out. This is a really nice river crossing. Well, then why did you give me a look? But yeah, the wet belt sander is one of my favorite machines. So you see all the rough areas we still need to work on getting out. And now I do need to work this in. So I gotta make these a pretty angle. Like I wouldn't leave it such a steep grind off there, because that would devalue the specimen a little bit. So I'll take and grind this in a little bit like this. As the artist would say, I'm feathering it in a little bit.
Peter asked, do you use any water aid to make it slithery?
I do not. When I'm doing the grinding like this, I do that sometimes in the soft. But if I was gonna use anything, it would just be a drop of Dawn dish soap in the water. This this belt is a little worn. When this belt is brand new, it'd take like maybe 30 seconds to get this agate smooth. For me, an hour. I know people that use them for, oh, well, okay, I should preface that a little bit better. If you're using like an 80 grit belt, you could probably do 100 stones-ish on there, depending on how big you're doing. That also depends if you're doing cabs or you're doing polish pieces. If you're doing a really hard agate, like if you're digging agate like this, that takes a really lot of grinding to get it smooth. You could wear out an 80 grit belt on one rock. If you're polishing cut faces that you're doing a lot of them, maybe you'll do 100 stones on it before you wear out the belt. It's mostly going to be user dependent on how long the belts last. Oh, thank you. The deciding whether a rock gets a flat polish or if it gets a dome is entirely dependent on the person polishing it. Some will lend themselves better, like this one. If you look, because the way it's broken on the back, it would not be a good one to do a cut on because you could not get a full specimen out of it. Now this one, if I grind it in just right, I'll still get a full specimen out of this agate, so it'll be better for a dome polish. But as a general rule, I think agate collectors prefer a flat polish. Will you stop that? You're making me dizzy. It's like a rave over here with Tay waving the light around. I do think I got a little bit of dirt inside the valve. I think it needs to be taken off and cleaned because if you notice, you get little spritz of water, and I've kind of got to adjust the valve a little bit to get it to flow. All right, we're almost there on this face. Fire what?
Dry spot's dangerous when you're trying to smooth down the face of a saw. Why do you want a constant water flow?
Well, the biggest concern is the dust. You don't want to get silicosis, so you don't want to breathe the dust. So I want to make sure I'm not creating any dust. The second big thing would be heat. You don't want to get this agate face too hot and cause fractures. Because I mean, that's a really killer agate.
Ed is asking, are you recirculating the water?
Yes, we are recirculating the water on this. So you can see the dirty water goes into the far tank. Then it's got these baffles that comes back over to the pump. This one has not enough water. It's kind of evaporated out and it's dirty. It needs to be cleaned out.
Okay, thank you. And Scott is asking if you can show maybe later the difference between a domed specimen and a flat one.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we can show the difference between a dome specimen and a flat one.
Thanks.
I feel like the wine comment was about the light. You can change it back to the other camera. I just couldn't hear you. Yeah, why don't you show those agates? Oh, we can do that. Why don't you show them? Oh, I guess you have, I don't have a mic. Yeah, that was right. I want to finish getting the spot right there out. That's got the, you can see it with the reflection. That's got this rough spot still.
All right.
There you go. Go look at agates.
All right. We are gonna look at agates over here. Is the light bad? Yes. So I am actually going to go over here and show you agates. Because I think I have a light over here that works. I do. All right, folks. So these are John's agates. These are agates that John, me, and Zeke have cut, and we have sent them to get polished. These are all kind of on the desk right now, but the difference between a flat and a dome polish. This is a dome polish agate. You can see if I turn it to the side, it is polished in a dome. These are fantastic Koyamitos, Suecos, Lagunas mostly. We have island agates here, river crossings. But this is a dome polish one. And then I'll show you my favorite. This is a flat polish one. Oh my God, I accidentally opened the wrong app. I am so sorry. So this is a flat polish one. You can see a fantastic finish. But yeah. The other half to that one is also, well, this isn't the other half, but same kind of rock. These are Koyamitos. Well, no, I think this is it's either Laguna or Koyamito. I cannot be taken, but these are some killer river crossings. Yeah. And then as well, we have the really, really nice island agates as well. And in there we have some Lagunas. But we will go meet back up with Zeke. Little Botswana as well. Little Cherry Center Botswana. These are not done directly by us, I don't think. These ones were done by a friend of ours, but he polishes all of these. He dry polishes these on a bull wheel. These are all done on a bull wheel. Which we will be shooting a bull wheel. We typically, the bull wheel, which is a dry polisher because it's so fast and aggressive, we typically recommend doing that outside because you need to wear a respirator and be extremely careful. It is one of our more dangerous machines. But Zeke will tell you more about that when we finish this. I was talking about how we do our polishing for our agates on bull wheels.
Well, I do one on this, but
Well, for
those
all of
ones,
those,
yeah, are done on a
yes.
bull wheel. Like whose are
The corporate needs.
the corporate ways?
Almost done now.
Yep, almost got it out of there. There's just the smallest speck of rough right there that I want to get out. And this is the time to make sure we get that out.
All right. And then on this side is our leather polishing with cerium powder on it, which we will show you later.
Hey, Tay, can you hear me?
I'm gonna go answer some questions.
Okay.
Zeke is
Okay.
doing what we've been watching, but what are some questions? Can you polish a flat specimen with an 8-inch expandable drum sander? I'm gonna let Zeke answer that. He has much more experience with polishing cabs and flat specimens on wet weld sanders. I did a lot of my polishing on flat laps. What about mounting a CB8 lamp on a wet weld sander? You can do that. You can mount the CB8 lights on your wet weld sander, well, technically behind it. We just haven't, because we're moving our entire shop really, really soon. So we're about to break down a lot of these machines and move them to our other studio that we're building. 10 for the whole, oh, the agates.
Mhm.
Can I see the purposely one closer? I can show you those agates closer.
The Los Bernitas.
Not all of them are Las Marnitas. Some of them are.
Let's go look at the agates. Again.
One sec. If the center of the agate is better looking than the edges or edges of a dome polish it, then the edges of dome polish it is bet. Best part of the agate is the periphery, then a flat polish is the best. If the edges are the prettiest, a dome polish is the best, and if the center,
Mm.
flat polish, I think.
So I think what Jeff's saying, if the edges of the agate are prettier, like you have a boring center to do a dome polish, and if it's a more consistent pattern to do a flat polish, I think. Oh, okay. Jasmine's saying center to do a dome. I don't know. It really, to me, it's agate specific. It's not like a general rule of thumbs. It's like per agate. Agate collectors are generally gonna, from my experience, are generally gonna like a flat polish. But for me, it doesn't matter. I like both. I like the dome and I like the flat polish.
A big difference is also price. Dome polishes, it depends on who you're selling it to and what the specimen is. A lot of specimen collectors prefer flat cuts instead of the dome polish, depending on the materials. Sometimes dome polishes can reduce the price. A lot of people also choose to dome polish because of how the stone is. If it's easier to dome polish than cut because there's lack of material. If it's broken on a pointing V, typically set it for dome polish because of the material loss, and the farther you cut into an agate, the more that pattern changes. So it depends if you want to cut it and risk losing that pattern or not.
The lower the price is gonna be entirely dependent on the collector. Most collectors prefer the flat polish. I personally, I like both, but I know like some people will only buy them if they have a flat polish. Like they won't even consider it if it's a domed agate. No matter how pretty it is.
The agate purists.
Yes.
So
So
when
the
do
Go ahead.
when do you dome?
Do you want to show a rock that you would dome instead of
Well, like the river crossing, for example, I wouldn't cut that one because it has a broken pattern on the edge. If you cut it, you would make it have a broken pattern. So it would not be a good one to flat polish because if you cut it, you're gonna lower the value on that one. I do have another one over here. Yeah, I thought I had another one over here.
is it in the saw? Oh, don't look at that.
No,
Is it in this bucket?
I don't know. You were touching it the other day, and I said no touching. Nope,
What do you mean
Oh.
I was touching it?
you were touching. You were touching.
Oh, then it's on the table.
Okay.
If I was touching it, it's the ones I touch were on the table.
You wanted to cut it.
Yeah, it was.
No. Although this is another example right here of one that you can see it's thin. It would not be a good one to cut. This is a much better one to do a dome polish than to try to cut this. Which is why I'm doming this one. This one would be, with the consideration to take on this one would be to how much grinding you would have to do to get a dome out of this. You'd have to do a ton of grinding to get this smooth enough to do a dome on. So this one I probably would take a cut on right there because that's great pattern in there.
All right, let's go look at agates.
We can look at that.
Someone requested we look at these a little bit more. First of all, if you want to see some big ones that are big prices too, hold that one. These are agate. These are also full of agates, but we're not going to open those. Show off this pseudomorph Coyamito. So this is a Coyamito pseudomorph agate from Mexico. You can see all the cool little pseudomorph fingers. These are from John's. Absolutely amazing pieces. They kind of scare me though, because of the prices on some of them. Because they're killer. Ooh. Someone was asking to look at some purple ones.
Yeah, that's a great one. Although here's another really good purple.
Oh, I was showing off this one, but I like the other face.
Yeah, I like this one more. Get it lined up. There you go. That was great. This is a Las Mornitas Quaimito. This is what I keep talking about when I say I love the Las Mornitas.
I will share what could possibly detract from a price. Hold the phone, my friend. So I will walk you through otherwise perfect specimen and what would detract from a price of a specimen. This one is the one I'm going to use. Let me clip on my mic so I don't have to hold it. So the things you want to watch out for, this can happen during polishing. This did happen for this one during polishing. It is a fantastic specimen. It took a fantastic polish. What can happen is cracks that you have that you think are healed or ruined, where they have healed together as the stone has formed, aren't, and they re-crack. And on this one, if you look right along this edge, this has reopened. You can feel it as well. If you put your nail to it, it catches a little bit. That would affect the price of this stone. Same with right over here. There's a couple reasons why these ones could have cracked during polishing. One, because it's using the bull wheel and it's dry polishing, there is more heat happening and it's more aggressive, so it can catch more. You have something to add?
No, I was sorry. I was off on all line.
Oh, he's getting lost. That is a big cause for some of these fractures to kind of break and be more fresh when you finish polishing them, and that can hit your price. So when you're polishing, that is something to look out for. A lot of times, if what John does, if he can see an agate is really nice, but wouldn't survive the polishing process, he usually takes another slab off of it to try to go a little deeper, because you can cab that slab and it won't kind of go to waste, or he can reuse it and make his money, especially he's cutting for profit. And then he'll polish a little deeper in if the pattern is still there, or he'll just slap the rock or ball the rock or dome it, depending on the situation. What Zeke's showing off right now is that domed agate.
I guarantee this one was not thick enough to get a good cut on. And if you look right here, it's got the same problem where if you took a slab, you'd be cutting through that window. So yeah, this one, my fingerprint off of it, gross. Would be a perfect example of when you would want to dome, not cut. That's a great Laguna right there. Beautiful color.
This is a little slab that has been polished. This was a little slab that we sent to get polished of island agate. Yeah, little cute little baby. All right. And then this is an end cut that we also got polished from this boy. But this is a good example of how the farther in you cut a rock, the pattern changes. So that's why sometimes we don't want to take a thicker slice and we decide to dome polish, because if we do take that slice, it can augment the pattern that we wanted. All right.
Also, you can see on this is another example of if you cut into it further, you would ruin the agate.
This is a little pseudomark too.
Because you wouldn't want to cut through that. You want a whole pattern.
Agates are so cool. They're my favorite. I'm an agate gal. This guy's a sphere guy.
Yeah, especially when you got Lagunas and Las Mornitas to smear. Smear.
Schmear? Schmear?
Smear.
You know, when you smear your agates. Oh, there's another really big one. Oh. All right. We're back to the wet belt sanding process. Zeke is going to switch out his belt. Is there any questions?
This is a 120 grit diamond belt.
Where can you get
I
the
also-
120 grit diamond belts from?
Johnson Brothers Lapidary. Or East Wing Lapidary.
I realize they can't hear you.
Hey, did what now?
You can get those belts from Johnson Brothers or East Wing Lapidary.
Ugh. Also makes it a lot harder to open it. Gosh, you tighten that all the way down.
I know. Who tightened that? Put yourself up, friend. When we get 2 mics, it's over. It's gonna.
Oh my gosh, it'll be so nice when we don't have to walk around and hold cameras and mics.
Maybe
Thank
we'll even
you.
have someone do the video for us, because I know I have appalling videography skills.
I know. I love it when Tay is holding the camera and talking like this. She's like, "Oh, we're here," but she's still holding the camera like.
I got your best angle.
We're on camera. People don't have to need to know I'm short.
Just, that's the height I see.
That's a little exaggerative. A little exaggerative.
It's okay.
All right, so I loosened up the tension on the belt now. Get our belt lined up. You can see we're all the way over to one side. So I'll just crank this, let it adjust, give it another turn, let it adjust. Went a little too far, so I'll turn it back a hair the other way. Give it a couple bumps. All right, looks good. And then one more little turn. All right. That's a really pretty agate. Now, one thing that you can do when you're looking at the scratches is I should have shown you a second ago. I made all the scratches go across it this way so that I can see they're all consistent. And then I turned the other way to make sure that I'm getting all the scratches out from the previous one. So now I'm going to make all the scratches go this way.
Talk about how it's important to have one.
Oh, an apron? These are wonderful. One of us is dry.
One of us is dry.
I have another one downstairs.
I don't want the box. That's what Chairman called me.
Oh, Lord.
The rock and the blood. What is it?
Rough rockin' duo? I don't know.
Hannah, and he's like, please, I miss you, you know, okay, because you know, my.
Oh, gosh. I most certainly do not. All right, let's see.
I think it's a fantastic.
Just blowing it off, make sure it's completely dry. So that we can see all the scratches in there. Got them all oriented going the same way. So now when we move on to the next grit, we know which way they're going. Go back to this one now. I still got a little bit in there. Driving me nuts.
Also, that one right there.
Yeah, that one really should be done deeper. Oh, that is true.
Getting close to that little ding, you know?
Yeah, see right here, this fracture will affect the value. So I'm trying to get that little fracture out right there. I've done $10,000 pieces of bone. I cut up a whole big chunk of bone. They were all about that big. They were bright, neat, like minty, bright green bone. And I polished the whole set of slabs. Like I think the guy wanted like $10,000 to $15,000 a slab. I think most of them it was like $10,000 a slab though. I don't know if they ever got 15 for one.
That's So you were doing work for hire essentially.
Yes.
That is an option, my lapidary friend.
Oh man, if you get good at polishing, you can make a ton of money polishing rock for other people. I mean, something like this, I was charging $50 to polish. And
That's
Good.
$50.
oh, if I was doing production right now, we'd already be done with this. By setting up.
Fair enough.
But people will bring me like 5-gallon buckets or pallets and stuff like this to polish for them. Yeah, it's really getting close.
Ultimate Max Lightweight can help you really have issues with the basic, that can be hard to see the rest of it.
Tell us what you mean.
All right. So when I'm talking about alternate light sources, like I'm using this flashlight to help me see scratches he wouldn't see from his overhead light source. I recommend getting a little flashlight or something, especially if you're polishing, to be able to see fractures, cracks, things that you wouldn't be able to see with your overhead light.
Now, one of the other reasons I was talking about the belts wearing out really fast is because when I was cutting for money, I would literally use a belt until it started to get slow. Once it started to get slow, I'd toss it, or sometimes I'd save them up and give them to friends so they could use them because they weren't cutting for money as much. And that would work really well because I would like those silicon carbide belts, they're like $5 a belt, something like that. I literally would use them once and then either give them away or throw them away because I want them to be fast every time I'm using it. Now, if I'm doing this as a hobby, I'm using them a lot more, but for production, I'm using it. It starts to slow down. I throw it and get another one. Literally throw. I'm sure Kay has seen piles of them somewhere. All right, let's look at this agate. Still a little bit there I want to get out.
Although that could be.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that out. And I do actually, because if you see I push really hard, the belt will move over. I actually use that to my advantage a little bit. I'll push really hard and get it towards the center there so I can use the whole belt. And if I want, I can do the same thing on the other side. I can really push it to the center a little bit. That's pushing pretty excessive, but you can do that. The downside to that, the one thing you got to watch out for is shredding the neoprene. I probably replaced the neoprene more than most people. I'm talking about this black foam stuff that you see behind the belt. I think so. Yeah, that's a beautiful agate right there. That one's a little deep. I don't think we're gonna get that one out.
That also the side, it adds dimension.
It's true.
Rock, like fractions in a rock, you may not necessarily want to get out because it adds individuality to the rock itself.
All right.
Sounds like a train.
Yeah, that belt doesn't sound wonderful. Has all the belts have different sounds to them.
They do. Now, why do you think that is?
Well, it's gonna be based on the how much it takes to bend one, the texture of the belt, how old it is, how worn it is,
Why are we talking
the
about
size of the
acoustics
diamond.
I don't think they want to hear about the acoustics of it, my friend.
You know, I actually have these belts that Sherman wants me to test. Let's see how well these work.
A big thing about these our lab is we do test our products a lot. Zeke just got finished testing a bunch of blades. We're testing belts. We're constantly trying to find the best products to bring and sell.
Although I don't know what grits Sherman got me.
They're on the back of the belt.
I know, but not all of them are the right size for this machine. And this isn't a unusual, this is a 6A.
By 37.
Yeah, that's the wrong size for this machine.
These are for the wet belt. Not wet belt.
The
or
bull wheel.
the bull wheel.
But like this one, that's 1,000 grit. Let's see, this one.
It's 800.
Well, okay, apparently we do have some finer belts.
800, and this is the no.
Wrong one. Yeah, I don't know what I know the A on here represents like A16 as a grit. I just don't remember what that represents. Okay.
It's a really fine one. Could be 1300. Honestly. I don't know.
Nah, 1300 is too weird.
I have. Listen, there's a lot of 1300.
Let's see what else we got here.
What is the grinding progression you typically go for?
For me personally, I go 60, 120, 220. It's a bit excessive, but because I'm cutting faster, I added more steps. 400, 600, 800, 1200, 3000. And then if I'm doing something that requires extra, I'll go 14,000, 50,000. If it doesn't require the extra, then I go 3,000 cerium oxide or ZAM on a cotton wheel, depending on the hardness of the stone.
If you since production, that is your steps. What would you recommend the steps to someone who's just doing this as a hobby?
Hobby, probably I'd get 80, 220, 400, 600, 1200, and 3000 would be a basic set to start with. You can do a lot with that.
And then your serious
All right, I'm gonna use an 80 grit belt, even though this is technically a higher grit. It's a little more worn.
Howard said A16 represents a 1200 grit.
Oh, thank you. What is?
15 wasn't that far off, man.
I know, but 1300 is weird. What is? Let's see, what's this other A6?
A6 is Howard.
I think that's 600 grit, but I can't remember.
I'm surprised you don't know it by touch.
Well, those ones are a different style of belt, so they feel different.
Excuses.
It ain't a silicon carbide, but this is an 8.
Maestro's letting me down.
Well, it's not grit filling Maestro.
Feel the grit.
All right, this one is an 80 grit. Even though we just used 120, a 120 diamond belt will cut more consistently. An 80 grit, because this is a little bit worn, will actually cut as a higher belt. So let's see what we can do with this belt. And you can see way off on this belt. Thank you for the stroke here, Trade Me Places.
Or if your belt is too far over, stop the machine. Because this has been a thing. Lift up the hood, my friend. If your belt rides all the way to the edge, it can end up scraping the inside of your hood. That's something.
You're going to do it. It's going to happen. You're going to do it one day, no matter how careful you are. You're going to stick a belt on there and do it.
Yeah, but that is just something to watch out for. We're educated.
So yeah, overcorrected there. This one's a much newer machine. My machine at home, all the adjustments were a little bit smoother because I use that so much. This one's everything's nice and tight. Let's see. All right, that looks pretty good right there. All right, now switching places again. Not a subject of safety. Where is your hair tie? Now on the silicon carbide belts, you can tell when they saw the grit on there, they're still working well, because they'll have a pulling feeling. It'll feel like it's pulling the rock a little bit. That's good, because that means you're grinding. So you can see all those really aggressive scratches we still got to get out. Let me grab a paper towel. So we can really see what's going on there.
They can't see a thing.
I can see it great like that. All right. You can still see there's some pretty hefty scratches going across there. But it's starting to look good. I'm going to keep working it until we get those scratches out. Now on this, I'll show you guys, because there's so few fractures in this. I'll show you guys the Sharpie technique. Oh, come stand over here. We got light right here. All right. Can they see the scratches?
Yes.
Like all these white lines going across there. Now there's no fractures over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm going to make sure I coat all those scratches really well. Now, if this has fractures in it, like I won't go Sharpie there and I wouldn't do Sharpie over here. I'm going to put the Sharpie on there and let it dry. And when I can get all the Sharpie off, I know those scratches are gone. I'm just being careful not to go in any of the little grooves or pockets, vugs. This works really well with agates like this. Because I know you can do this with cabochons. That's usually how I teach people, is I make them get the Sharpie out of the rock. Then I just blow on it, make sure it's all dry. And then now we can go get all the Sharpie off. Now on the question about when to use the cab machine versus the wet belt sander, this is going to cut faster. So you're grinding an agate like this is going to go a lot faster on this. And I'll actually use this for cabochons as well. Like I'll take them to the 80 grit wheel, shape all of them so they look nice. And then I'll come over here with a 220 belt and take all those flat spots and scratch it out really quick. And that's how I make so many cabs when I'm doing production by myself. So those are the two areas, but like an agate special like this will take way longer on the cab machine than it will on this. Oh, we're doing pretty good on that. Got all those scratch. I mean, this one was pretty close, so That was not a great example. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put Sharpie on this one again. So when we go to the next grit, you can see how hard it is to get the Sharpie out sometimes. Although I do see one more right there I want to get out. I think this is on high speed. Yeah, this is high speed. I had to think about which pulley was which. This only has two. All right, now that we did that one, let's do this Idaho Sea Maggot.
Someone is asking how much mileage we expect from the belt to receive that.
So it really is dependent on your use and how aggressive you are. If I'm doing cabochons, yeah, and on, like, so if I'm doing cabochons, I may be able to get 50 to 100 cabochons out of a belt like this. And if I'm doing agate specimens like this, maybe I can get 20 out of it. But it's really dependent on how aggressively you use them. The silicon carbide belts wear out pretty fast compared to like the diamond. But they're also significantly cheaper. Oh, sorry. Apparently I can't talk and polish. All right, I still see some pretty. Yes, to adjust the speed of the belt, I can show you guys that. But you have to take this cover off and the little cover behind it to change the speed. You can't see it from this side. So, still some scratches right there that we need to get out.
I get hooked thing, it's so pretty.
Yes, it is.
Camera and I hate it.
Oh, looks pretty good.
Let's take a peek. Right there on this edge.
Yeah, but those are still 80 grit scratches. See? I just changed all the direction of them, which is how I know they're 80 grit. If I had done that and it didn't change the direction of the scratches all still went the way Kay had pointed it out, I would have known that they were still from the last grit. But these ones, because I can see that they all changed directions when I did that, I know that they're from this wheel.
Polishing, if you break it down, what is it?
Basically scratching the rock finer and finer until it's pretty.
There you go.
All right, let's see what other belts we have. I really should have grabbed more belts. Can you?
I will call my father.
I have a 220 grit belt here.
Grab this, let me call my father.
Because I, in my lack of preparedness, I forgot to grab more belts. Woo, there goes the paper towels. One of each. What I was saying, Kate, or Jasmine, sorry, whoever asked the question. Here, put up the other camera. Or actually, let's look at this one for a second. So I can see all the. Let's set the phone down. He's switching the camera on me. Playing tag. All right, so if I can see all the scratches are going up and down like this, and I'm not sure what wheel those scratches are from, I'll turn the rock and grind this way. If all the scratches change, so they're all going this way now, and I don't see any of the ones that were going this way, I know that it's because it's from that wheel, and at that point I'm just grinding for fun. I'm not actually getting scratches out. So that's what I was saying, is that I know that those scratches are from that belt, and I'm not working to get those out with that belt. I'm ready to go to the next belt. Now, if the scratches were going this way and I ground on it and I didn't get those scratches out, the scratches would still go this way, and then I'd have smaller ones going across it. But the deep scratches would still go this way. That's how I know I'm ready to move on to the next step, which is really important. A lot of people, especially like people send me emails and text me pictures. They'll be like, I can't get a good polish on things. I'll look at it and instantly see deep little scratch spots in their stone. And I know that they didn't do a good job on the second step getting those out. And that's why they don't have a good polish. The first, awesome. Yes, scratches can be really hard to get out, especially if you, what's worse is when you have like a worn out wheel and you're trying to get them out. That makes it really fun. Let's show people how to change the speed of the belt while Sherman's grabbing, or the wheels while Sherman's grabbing belts. Well, Eric, you're gonna have scratches. So if you grind with a 60 grit and you go to 80 grit, excuse me, you go to 80 grit, you're gonna have scratches from the 80 grit. So you're getting all of the 60 grit scratches out, but now you're making scratches with the 80 grit. And when you go to 120 or whatever progression you use, now you're getting all of those scratches out and going to the next level of scratches. No, flat polished cabs are actually worth less than dome polished cabs. The only time I'm really polishing a flat face on a cab as a general rule. Yes, yeah, you're right, Eric. The previous ones are gone. But the only time I'm really polishing a flat face on a cab is when I'm polishing the back of the cab. Let me go grab a cab really quick so I can show you guys what I'm talking about and how we would use that on the wet belt sander. No, a rough one so I can grind on. Found one. Looks aggressive. A horror movie.
There we go.
All right, so here's a cab preform that it's slightly domed, not really, but I'll polish the back of this. This one I'll do on the wet belt sander so you guys can see.
We'll show a couple. This is one that you did polish on the back.
This was one I did a dome on the back though. This is a terrible polish.
There.
This is a much better looking cab.
This is the variegated tiger's eye that we have.
So there we go. And then like this face, I would polish on the back of that. Like I'd use the back plate for this. But we'll grind this one so I can actually show you guys that. Let's go work on this one while we're waiting for Sherman. I think we could. Well, that's not great, but it's better than being sleepy.
You said coffee's bad though, and you drink that.
Coffee's disgusting. I'll take that over coffee any day. Where'd the flashlight go? I like that. The flashlight. Woohoo!
Oh my goodness, you're trying to kill me.
All right, let's grind out this cab. If only I had light.
You can make it.
Now, the one thing, this belt is a little worn down, so it's not ideal for doing the shaping. This would be more like get the scratches and flat spots out. Yes, we should be wearing them. You should wear safety glasses, a respirator.
Not wear
Wait, what PPE should you not wear?
Not wear.
This feels like a trick question. What PPE should you not wear, Tay?
Gloves.
Oh, I wear rubber gloves. They're skin tight, but
What they will rip though if they get caught. Not wear gloves or these clothes that can get wrapped up in the.
I'll have to ask John about that one.
No, that's typical thing. Not wear gloves.
Hmm,
Technical
rubber gloves?
Rubber gloves will fit.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like not rubber gloves, like cloth gloves.
Ah, Sherman and our stack of belts.
That belt.
Very excited to have belts.
All right, very good.
Actually, the only person that can really hear is me right now.
All right, we'll get it fixed. I'm doing my research right now. Y'all,
There's the mic right there.
y'all have a good time with these guys? They enjoying it? They are. That's good. All right, I will get you guys the little pool mics.
That'd be awesome.
So anyway, keep at it.
Thank you.
They love you, bye.
Oh, poor Tay.
Neglected by my.
Poor Tay. All right.
Got a selection here.
Well-
This is the perk at working at Highland Park.
Now with this fluorite, the hardest trick is not to get it too hot while you're working it on the wet belt sander. Because you can see like that little fracture right there, that's probably caused by heat. And on this one, for the back plate, why I was so excited about this, is you can do the back of your cabs. That's not nice.
There you go. They're dainty, wonderful fingers in the way.
No one believes that.
Okay.
That sounds even worse. The sarcasm.
Keep the lane.
Oh gosh. No.
Oh.
But see, that works great for doing that. Although you do want to rotate it around, do both sides, not just one direction, because then it'll grind it uneven. All right. Now let's switch out belts. Why'd you take the flashlight away? I love how I'm so excited. Man, the new lab, I'm so excited about. Sherman doubled the amount of lights. It is so bright in there. It's wonderful.
If you look right there, speak this as I pointed out. We lost the light.
Yes, the several lights are not working correctly, including the one Tay is pointing at. So it's a little dark in here. All right, we did 80. Let's see if Sherman brought us a 120. A 120 belt right here. All right, this is the one I want. So I want to make sure we got all those, get all the scratches out. So this is 120 grit. Let's do those agates. Finish those babies up. Yeah, that's wonderful, actually. Tay is a really great light stand. Well, that's aggressive. Tay is threatening to hurt me with the flashlight. If I come to the live cell bruised and beaten, you guys will know what happened. All right. So right now you can see all of our scratches are going this way. I'm gonna grind it the other way so that we can make sure all those change directions. All right, so you can see all the scratches are going the other way now. So we are good to go. On this one, they're all going this way. So I'll grind it this way.
Can you do that direction team with tabs as well?
Yes, not as much because I'm rotating it around and making sure I get every face.
They can't do that. That's why that's your answer.
Sorry, Kay asked if I do that same directional grinding when I'm doing cabs. And I said a little bit. I don't do it as much as I'm doing these, like I'm doing them all one direction, then flipping, doing all the other direction. But the cabs, I'm actually working the stone around like this in my hand, where it's constantly rotating. And that way I don't get scratches just going in one direction. It's constantly changing. And then I'll check it each step to make sure they're not. Actually, I'm lying a little bit. I do not check them each step. I usually do about 150 to 100 cabs at a time, and I check them all when I'm done. And if they have scratches, I send the maybe like 5 to 10% back through that need to be done again.
What would you recommend for someone who gets started?
If you're starting, you should check it each step, or if you're doing, you're doing a couple at a time, check it each step, make sure you're getting those scratches out. You can check it with the Sharpie too if there's no fractures or it's not a porous stone. Light me. All right, belt moved over a little bit, so I'm just gonna, because it stretches a little bit. So I'm just gonna turn it back a little bit. Not a ton. You can see if I push really hard, the belt moves. So I don't, that's excessive.
What's the PSI?
Bro, I have no idea.
Tires are 30.
My tires are like 50.
Depends on the size of the tire.
Well, that's what my point was, is that that's not.
People out there. So you get the scratches out by grinding perpendicular to the scratches.
Yes. All right, you can see they're all going up and down now. So let's move on. These new belts grind so much faster than those worn out ones. Hey, also you should shut the valve off when you're gonna lift the hood so you don't spray yourself in the face with water.
It's hydrated.
I feel refreshed. I also like to have a like peg sticking out like this that I can hang the belts on so they're organized and not all over the place. But right now I don't have that, so they just kind of get thrown under here. Let's see. We need 220 grit. So here's our 220 grit belt. And these are not directional.
Do you use Sharpie on all grit stages?
If you are struggling with getting a good polish and you're learning, yes.
Before we start, let's answer a few more of their questions.
Okay,
Just so they're not waiting.
that's good. I'm getting lost in polish land. I'm excited to see that river crossing.
Pretty far, my friend. All right. Do you need do your hands need to wash between changing belts?
No, when we're doing these, pin us up on the other camera so we're not staring at the floor. When we're doing the belts like that where they're silicon carbide, then you don't have to worry about contamination from them touching each other or grit on your hands because it's embedded. So it's getting flushed with the water that you use across the wheel. So I wouldn't worry about that. Now I do have a felt belt here. This belt, a soft felt. This one you have to worry about contamination. You've got to be very careful not to get this dirty, otherwise you can cause scratches during your polishing phase.
You use Sharpie on all the grit stages.
If you're learning, yes, you should use the Sharpie on all the stages, so that you make sure you're getting it out with each grit. Especially if you're having a hard time getting a good polish. Because it's, if you're not getting a good polish, it's probably because you're not getting the scratches out. Yeah, you can use that as a polishing belt. You can use it with cerium oxide, you can use tin oxide, all kinds of stuff. Lindy A on there. It's not really necessary because we have the leather wheel on the other side, but yes, it is for polish. Any other questions?
Any questions when we're standing here? They can't hear me, but
The end of the CB8 will have a polishing pad on it eventually. We have the felt pads, but we do not have the
Cowhead?
no, we don't have the metal backer plate that goes on there yet.
Oh.
We're still waiting for John to send us those. So James, in the case of that felt wheel, you would just put that on as one of the regular silicon carbides belts.
Can you, oh yeah, can you polish a flat specimen on an 8-inch expandable drum sander?
Well, so you could never get perfectly. We don't make felt replacements for the side, just the leather. For the round wheels, you can do a flat polish, like on the bull wheel, it does have a round wheel that you can use for polishing the flat faces, but it will never be 100% truly perfectly flat if you use a round wheel. You can be really close, but you have to use a flat, like a flat lap to get perfectly flat. But like those agate specimens you saw, those were done on a bull wheel that has a round wheel on it.
How do you do production so much faster on agates with the bull wheel? Yep, you just answered that. Do you sell leather thing polishing? Do y'all sell leather polishing wheels that's at the end of the CB8?
Not currently. We are working on that kind of stuff.
And then requesting to show how to replace the wheel or the black felt rubber, the Neo.
The neoprene. Replacing the neoprene is really easy. I don't have the stuff to replace it, and I'm not ripping the felt off of that one right now to do it. But it's really easy to do.
We can shoot a video when it does wear out.
Yeah, when I replace it, all I'm doing is scraping all of the old neoprene off, or sometimes they just peel right off. The neoprene is bring the camera over so we can show people. So if I take the belt off, so I just pulled the belt off. This is the neoprene, this soft, squishy backer.
You can see in areas where it's kind of got a little bit of wear. No,
I was looking for the seam, actually. Yeah, so you can see the seam right there.
There's the seam.
So we just cut it at an angle like this, and then you use contact cement and just press it on all the way around.
It's also contact cement and rubber cement.
Yeah.
There's
So,
different
but it's
names.
very easy to replace this. I think we sell these too.
We do.
I think they're pre-cut.
We do.
I don't think I realized that. I think I was buying strips of it and cutting them myself.
I have no words.
Yeah.
We live and we learn.
Right? Yeah, well, we can do, yes, the neoprene can be purchased, like a horror movie. The neoprene can be purchased from Highland Park. We can eventually do a video on how to replace it. It's very easy. Usually takes me like 5 to 10 minutes. And it's one of those things that takes longer to, if you're buying it by the roll, it takes longer to cut it out and find the contact cement than it does to actually put it on there.
Contact cement can be found at any art store, and it can also be found at like Home Depot, Lowe's, stores like that.
Well, it depends on what size you're referring to, Carol. I like the wet belt sander for anything from cabochon all the way up to about 6-inch pieces. If you get over that like 6-inch range, then I use the wet grinder or the flat lap or the R1M, depending on what you're polishing. Over 6-inch, I would, well, it depends on if you're doing like a contour polish, I would use the wet grinder. If I was doing a big display piece that has a flat face on it, I'd use the R1M. And if I really wanted precision and I was working on a really high-end piece, I would use the rotary flat lap. Yes, so for the yes, Carol, you do. My garage was jam-packed full of equipment and I never felt like I had enough.
Now.
No, I still don't have enough. I'm constantly complaining to John that I need more machines. Let's so when I'm doing production cabbing, Eric, I'll in the series that I would generally do, like if I'm doing like agate cabs, is I would go 80 grit on the CB8. Then I would do 220 on the CB8. Then I would go over to the, and you can skip 220, but I like to make sure my shape was really good. Then I would go over to the wet belt sander and do 220, 400. And then I would go back and do the 600, 1200 and 3000 on the cab wheel on the CB8. And then I would buff it on the, yes. Yeah, because the 220 hard is different than the 220 soft. When you get because they polish completely different. It's like on the sphere cups, how we have a 400 grit hard and a 400 grit soft. Same concept. We do not have the polishing pads for the end of the CB8 yet, Terry. The not food, drink. On the side, the leather polishing wheel is 10 inches across. Yes, eventually we will carry the felt belts, especially if it's up to me. Because basically any of the stuff that I want, I'm bugging John constantly about making. That's awesome, Edward. I don't think it's quite that scientifical here.
Scientifical?
Scientifical.
Science.
Gotta say scientifical. That's a real word right there.
Sure.
Oh, it is fun hanging out with Tay. Well, you know what we haven't done yet? We haven't done a spin or a deal.
That is true.
Y'all want a deal? Awesome. Why are you taking my mic away?
If we're gonna share, they can't hear me.
Oh, sorry. Awesome. All right. Well, let's spin the wheel while I do the math on a deal.
You didn't want to do my math homework earlier.
Steve, on the 80 grit question, if it's a cabochon, yes, I'm always starting with 80 grit, unless it's a really soft stone that'll start with 220 grit. If it's a polished specimen, like a flat surface, it's a good cut. Oh, hey, Steve. Speaking of Steve, I will. I completely lost my train of thought.
Were you looking for the bins, the giveaways?
Yes, I was looking for the bins.
I know. You switched back right as I yawned.
But if it's a like a really smooth cut face, then I will start with 220 grit. Steve isn't right. All right. Put up the other camera for a second. A nice view of my neck. That's not what you won. This is lot 6288. Got a nice slab of the Australian Veracite.
Ooh.
That's a beauty right there. Great color in that too.
Do you want a closer peek?
Excuse
Model
you.
for us.
Excuse you.
Model for it.
Congratulations, Steve.
All right, turn us back. Why would you give me that look?
I can't imagine why. That's awesome, Steve. Oh, and the deal. I was doing math on a deal for you guys. Have you guys all seen the Mozambique cabbing select? They're really pretty where it's got the pinks, the whites. It's the one we talked about. It had the fluffy white balls in it.
It has the tubes and stuff like that. You all remember. I hope. I only talk about it every time I see it.
Right. I would, but of course I forgot to grab some.
Do you want to sprint
Actually,
up?
I think I have some down here. Let me go see if I grab it. But for tonight, on the deal, normally it's $50 a pound for the cabbing select, where you got the, you can see these nice chunks that are being good to cut up. Tonight we'll do 2 pounds for $75. So that's a pretty hefty deal on that stuff, especially because John doesn't normally discount that material.
That is hefty.
I know, that's a really good deal. Let me go find some now.
Do you want to? Oh,
A polished one right here.
we have a polished piece of it. Switch us over to my hand cam.
So this is a polished one. This is not what you're getting in the deal. This is just a polished nodule. But you can see it's beautiful material. You get pinks, you get blues. Some of them have little white balls in them. Some of them have these tubes. A lot of them are kind of boring on the outside, but you can see when you cut into them, really cool material. Most of them are not going to be this size. Most of them are going to be like that size. This just happens to be a really nice one out of John's collection that I have sitting here.
Yeah, that one has to be redone anyways.
Yeah, this one it got chipped. So it needs to be recut or reground on, which is good actually, because it might be able to get rid of that fracture.
Eric, what John doesn't know can't hurt him. He's having the time of his life.
Right. So you just don't tell John. We're all good.
He's in the Philippines. As long as the team out there doesn't tell him, and I'm looking at you guys, Nermeen. I see you. Don't say a
Don't
word.
help us out, Nermeen. We're also for tonight gonna do an equipment deal.
There we go.
So we're gonna do our team please hush. That's awesome. We're looking at you, Nermeen.
Yeah, we're looking.
I feel like Nermeen would be the one to tattle on us.
I don't know. It's something about the
It's the giggliness that makes me think that she could not lie to John. She would
Nervous
crack
laughter.
under pressure.
You're right.
So for tonight's
Perfect. For an accomplice.
right, I like the saying, 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead,
Yeah. I had a great night. I think I got a skedaddle.
Right. It's a
Nermeen,
funny
watch your
saying.
back.
Anyway, for the equipment deal, we're gonna do 5% off the equipment. So any equipment you guys want to order off the website, well, I mean, you'll order it through us. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, the other day she had the camera like pointed right at my groin. I was like, oh gosh. We're gonna do an equipment deal as well. You guys are so funny. 5% off the equipment if you buy 2 machines. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna do it 5% off if you buy a machine and 10% off of the accessory. So even a better deal for you guys. So if you buy the wet belt sander or the production trim saw, any of those machines that you guys are thinking about getting, 18-inch slab saw, you can get. Don't take my mic away. You can get 5% off, really good deal, and then 10% off the accessories. So if you want blades, if you want, you're thinking about getting the cab machine and diamond wheels, or if you're thinking about getting the wet belt sander and belts, things like that, you can get that deal. Everclean is not an accessory, and Everclean is a standalone system. But if you buy the Everclean and you wanted to buy the Everclean tank, the tank would be an accessory. The pumps would be an accessory. What the heck? I'll even say the oil is an accessory. Tay's saying
You're
no, but
gonna-
I'm saying yes.
You're gonna fight that battle, not me.
I'm in deal mode.
This is sometimes Zeke goes off script and goes feral to the point where I don't even know what's going on.
I'm in a good
So,
mood. We're good
Those
deals.
here do take a advantage of that because I didn't even know about it until like 2 seconds ago when he looked at me.
The Everclean is its own machine. It's not an accessory. You do have to buy a machine to get the 10% off the accessories. See,
That's what I'm saying.
but you're having a lot of fun, right?
Yep.
See, Edward agrees. Eric agrees. You know, the oil is an accessory.
If they didn't agree, I'd be like, something's going on.
Well, that's how you know it's a really good deal when even they're worried about it. You know, it's like, I don't know if he can do that. You know?
You get to field that phone call. Shatter marks. They talking back to you.
Well, if you're doing soft grit, I do or soft stones, I do sometimes start with the 220 wheel or a 220 belt. It shouldn't leave chatter marks. Chatter marks would be like vibration where it's like. So that would seem really aggressive, I would think. I'm just trying to imagine what that would look like. Chatter marks from an 80 grit wheel. But you can start with the 220 grit. In fact, when I learned how to make cabochons, I started with mostly soft stones, and majority of what I cut, I started on the 220 grit wheel. And the very first cab I made was Highlight Opal from how soft? Probably like a 4 or less. You could do a 5, but on Mohs hardness scale, but it would be that's a little bit harder. So 5 is kind of that turning point of which one you would use or not.
7 is about agate.
Yeah, but it's a linear scale. It's not, 5 is not equal to +1 of 6. The scale goes like this. So, a 9 is here and a 10 is up here. This is a very big difference. Yeah, I do a lot of turquoise too and start with a 220.
So the slope is not consistent
What did I say?
a lot.
I thought that's what I did say. Yes, it was very badass, Eric.
You know what cab we need to finish? The Salama Lane one.
Yes, we do need to finish that.
Yeah.
That abomination.
What? What? You said it wasn't that bad. You're an abomination. Why would you say that? That is so mean.
I thought that's what I said, a non-linear slope. Did I say it was a linear slope? I thought I said it was not a linear slope.
No, you said that, but you said it in a lot of words.
Oh. Them there fancy talk.
I was
Using all them extra words.
Them there. Can I get a deep line?
When cutting a rock, how to best know where to cut?
Thanks, Kim. Peta, it really depends on the rock. It also depends the shape of the rock, what kind of rock is it. There's a lot of factors that go into deciding how to cut a rock, so on and so forth. It's kind of a case by case basis. There's no one formula that will do it for every single rock because 1, all rocks are unique. 2, different materials. There's different indicators of where you should or shouldn't cut. And it also depends on what you're cutting for. If you're cutting for slabs, if you're cutting for specimens, so on and so forth, spheres even.
It is true. So, and that's why we give you guys a lot of examples when we're showing stuff and talking about a lot of different stuff. That's one of the things that's great about watching the live sales is we talk about so many of them, is because every rock can be slightly different.
And sometimes it is a guessing game. Like if I have a completely round rock with no fortifications, or I can't see any agate or exposed faces, it kind of is a guess. I have to kind of pray if I have no indications. And a lot of times it works out. Sometimes it doesn't.
On the equipment, send myself or the marketing team an email and we can get you guys a quote on, if you're thinking about, like Mary asked about an Everclean tank, anything else, excuse me, that she needs to go with that. I do not know all the prices off the top of my head, and John tells me not to guess, otherwise I would. So email me or the marketing team, and we will guess. Well, let's see. Everclean, I think they run about what,
Shut up.
$5,000. You know. No, so send us an email. We'll do the math for you guys, figure out what you need and what you want, and then we'll help you get the deal. So you know, if it takes you a day or two, it's no big deal. We'll still get you the deal. So, but if you don't and don't order them on the website because we don't have a coupon code for you. So tell us what you want and we'll manually enter it in.
No indication looks like a hot dog.
Slice it up
Yeah.
for the smaller. You don't cut it. So if you got the hot dog shape,
You
you're
don't
gonna
cut it like
up
you're putting
this
stuff
way.
in
You
it.
wouldn't cut it lengthwise.
Make little hot dog rounds like you're gonna put them in mac and cheese.
Yeah, hot dog shape.
I was like, do I have an example? Oh yeah, we do. Kind of. That's
Okay, yeah. So this is a hot dog shape. This would be an example of one you'd want to cut up this way, and it was cut the lengthwise. And turn on the other camera. So this is a cool agate, but look, you got fractures right there that would have been avoided by cutting it the other way. The perfect place to cut this one would have been right through there, and that would have given you a little fortification and some of the clouds in there. Although I'm still going to polish this one as a specimen because I like it. We could probably work something like that out, Scott. Although if you guys are really considering doing this for money, like I bought $60,000 worth of equipment in maybe 3 and 4 months, and I paid with all of it doing shows. It was all cash from doing shows. I was
what were
kind-
some of your favorite shows?
well, not to, you know, be biased, but my sister runs a show in Utah.
It's bias.
And I did exceptionally well at that show. I actually prefer doing the smaller shows. That's true. Terry is fun to hang out with who shows up.
We should do a Intarsia thing when we get
We need
our.
Bart to do that. He would be really good to do that.
That's true. We could do we used to do the spotlight type things where we would highlight someone who is really, really, really good at what they like do, like Intarsia, cab, so on. And there are a couple of people who would be able to show like how to glue and do
Or I'm sorry, Bill Boggs would be the one to do Intarsia. Bart did the laminating.
he would still be able to show like how to glue two pieces together really well.
Do the double.
Same with doublets and stuff like that. They are much, much, much more like experienced and skilled than we are in those areas. And they could give you much better advice than we
Like
could.
my Intarsia work is very basic. I can't do the like beautiful picture. Like it would not look as good as like the ones you see that are really well. Like Bill Boggs leaps and bounds ahead of where I'm at.
I can glue two rocks together.
Okay, I
Yeah.
can do a little fancier than Tay apparently.
That's rude.
On the ultrasonic drill, generally it's designed for doing cabochons and like drilling through slabs, that kind of thing, making beads. So I would think that 6 millimeters is going to be ideal. That's going to be the most common what people are using for. But I know people use it for beads, so you could probably do 1/2 inch.
Yeah, about something with the ultrasonic drill that I do know is like because it's water with grit and it's vibrating, that's how you're getting that hole. You don't want pooling and stuff to happen, especially if it's a really like deep, because you can pool and like it will get stuck. So I would have to ask Sherman and John to get exact dimensions, but we can get that.
I do know that like if you're doing like a big bead or something, they'll drill halfway down, flip it over, and then drill the other half. So if that helps answer your question a little bit.
Oh, when we get our hands on an Intarsia machine, say less.
We have one right there.
When we get our hands on one that's up and running and not just sitting there with no power,
Should we finish polishing those agates?
we can.
Because we still got to show using the leather.
Oh, true.
So for making the beads, Alicia, we use the shaping
Alicia.
machine. Alicia, sorry. My gosh. I think I was saying right before you messed me up.
I'll use Zach.
Yeah, that's okay. That'd be nicer than what you
Zeke?
normally call me.
Zeke.
Uh. So the Everclean, like when I'm using the core drill, if I'm really pushing on the Everclean and the core drill, I can fill it up every few hours. If you're running it on a saw, maybe once every 1 to 2 weeks. So it really depends on how much how much mud you're making. But there was days where I was running the core drill all day long, like 12, 14-hour days, and I would fill up the can 2 to 3 times.
Also, material you're cutting is very important for that because if you're cutting a completely silicated thing, you're not going to have that much waste. But if you're cutting something that has a lot of matrixy material that breaks down when you're cutting it into like paste, mud, then it's going to fill up faster.
Yes. But what I was saying with the shaping machine is we make different wheels that go on the shaping machine to make like we make one for making barrel beads. We make, the Moctezuma, that's a killer deal, by the way. I can't believe more people didn't go for that. That is, I wish I had,
You mean Mozambique,
what did I say?
Moctezuma.
Yeah, Mozambique, that's what I meant. Really great deal with that stuff because it's so pretty. Richard wants a Mozambique deal. But we sell different wheels. Like I make spheres on like the little cat's eye, Russian cat's eye sphere. I made that on the shaping machine. There is not a Moctezuma deal. There's a Mozambique deal. I just was talking wrong. My talker broke. Them M words done messed me up. So we do lots of different wheels to make lots of different things. You can do wands, spheres, eggs, beads.
Here's a deal. You buy all the machines, I give you Zeke for free.
Well, that sounds like a fantastic deal.
Buy the whole stock, you get this guy.
I would sell you some, Richard, but we don't have any Moctezuma agate. We sold it all.
We got a buyer. Pack your stuff up.
Oh. Well, I mean, it could be
No,
fun,
Zeke
you
is
know.
absolutely fantastic to work with, and I do not think I could do this job without him being here.
Aw.
So I think I'm gonna keep him around.
We did think about doing that. I don't know if that's something you guys would be interested in doing, like maybe getting to where we do like coaching calls where we get on Zoom and help you guys with maybe particular issues you guys are having, like one-on-one. Maybe you're, having an issue with machine, you can't get a polish on something, you need help with that. So I don't know if that's something you guys are interested in, but we did think about eventually doing that. So, all right, should we go polish those agates? I really want to finish that river crossing. It's really pretty agate.
The energy drink is kicking in. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
So, David, on the Everclean, I actually have a dirty can right here. Well, let's go look at this Everclean.
All right, we're going to go look. POV, watching me walk around.
All right, on this Everclean, this can is about half full. So on the inside here, when the mud gets to the inside of the ring, so it's parallel all the way down right here, that's when it's sorry. When the mud is parallel to this lip right here, when it's even all the way around with this lip, the can is full and it's ready to be changed out. You can stick your finger in there and fill the mud. This blind again. This can is about half full.
You can see the mud. It's bleaching out. I'm so
My
sorry.
gosh. Gonna be totally blind by the end of the night.
You can see the mud. It is half full.
So when it's all the way around to this lip right here, then we take them out and throw them away. You can clean the cans out and reuse the can, but I just throw the can away and get a new one.
We have,
I have not been running the Everclean.
I can see that.
I don't have enough electricity in here.
The red is making you look like you're planning an evil.
Wow.
Team, clip that. We'll post
And-
it everywhere.
Oh, we did set up the production trim saw as well, because I know you guys wanted to see that. So let's look at the the tank here. I don't have an Everclean on here, but this is an Everclean tank. This hose would go to the Everclean to recirculate the oil. That pump right there is going to the top of the feed here so that we have oil spraying directly onto the blade. So on this setup right here, I would put a valve on the drain here, pump oil. You could put a hose on there too, but I would just put a bucket underneath there. When the bucket fills up, I'd dump it back into the Everclean tank, or you could run a hose so it's dumping right back into the Everclean tank. And that way you got fresh oil circulating through here, running right onto the top of your blade. But that's how this is set up. So we got oil spraying directly on top of the blade. Keep him in line, Tay. That's funny.
The smile went away.
Awesome, John. We're so glad we're able to give you some help and get you started. All right.
Yeah.
Any more questions, or should we go back and polish those agates? I'm itching to get that.
Is there much oil spray?
No, let's plug it in.
I will say the lighting in this warehouse is abysmal. One sec. I'm gonna jog over here and try to turn on one of the lights that work.
Okay. You guys can't turn down.
I put this in
Oh.
your little booty pocket.
Excuse me.
There you go. It is.
All right. So if I turn on the pump there, and we'll turn on our blade. So I'm gonna open this all the way up so it's full blast. So that is all the way open. You can see tons of oil spray on the blade, not a ton of overspray. It's very minimal. I'm just looking for a slab or something I can cut to show you guys. You'd think I've got plenty of slabs laying around. They're never where you need them. But you can see. Oh my goodness, the overprotectiveness. I always forget this, the PPE. Tay is good about reminding me to wear that kind of stuff. But it is good, especially with the higher RPMs of this blade.
For this, it is important because you can get fracturing in it throats.
Let's see, where's the paper towels? On the cool thing I did discover is that the hood on the 10-inch saws do fit on the PT, the production trim saw. So we have these hoods. This is for the the 10-inch trim saw. This hood is an accessory we sell for the 10-inch trim saw. But I discovered if you just route the hose through there, it also fits perfectly on there.
And what does that mean?
It means that you can buy that 10-inch hood as an accessory for the PT, and you got the armholes to still run the saw. You can cut on there. It does make it so you can't adjust the oil with it on there, but it works pretty good actually.
I don't think this was an intentional.
It was not intentional whatsoever. Exactly. Buy two machines, get one hood. So I just thought that was cool, finding that little bit of extra there. John did not plan that, I don't think, because I think he was surprised when I told him.
Honestly, let's finish up carving up these things. Polishing
Mhm.
of the agates. And if we have time, we'll run some of the PT a little bit, but we can do the PT some next week, maybe after we talk about how to plan a show.
We could, because this is a great production. Like you saw how fast. You also saw that you can use the edges to grind on. So this is really great for making production like cabbing, especially. It's also great if you're doing spheres with the shaping machine.
Oh, you did not need to hear me. I was just telling Zeke,
She's telling me to stop yakking and get back to work.
yeah. I get it again. Well, that still work on the planning.
What's that?
Would that hood work on the planning?
So that hood is actually designed for the 10-inch stainless steel saw. I just happened to accidentally discover that it fit on there. I set it on top of it and I was like, that's pretty close. And it slid in perfectly. Yeah, it looks pretty dang good. Let's go the other direction, make sure I got all the scratches out. Oh gosh. Ah, looks pretty great.
Wiping it on your butt.
No, I used the side of my pants here. Wow. The other saw we need to look at is the drop saw.
I love the drop saw. I love her. I need to use her a lot in the coming weeks. We have to do a lot of things. All saws are too, like boats. For Zimba.
I didn't know that. We're learning something new every day. I'm trying to get the light. You keep moving the light on me. Yeah, looks good. Move to the next grit.
All about
Sorry. That's a no-no.
what Zeke just did. Okay, what Zeke just did, do not do. Do not do it. It is.
Got the look from Tay, gosh. Let's see what other belts. 320 belt. So this is 320 grit.
No one saw what you did. You were blessed because I'm bad at it. God bless.
Well, I make sure to turn away every time I do something that I'm not supposed to.
To explain, he slowed down the belt because it's a very fine grain. He slowed down the belt with his hand. Do not do that. It's not a good habit to have, and it can you can take your skin off. You can hurt yourself. Do not grab the belt when it's moving. Isn't that right, my good boy?
Yes.
The last belt was 220.
220 grit. This is 320 grit. What?
That move was an instructional booklet.
The what?
That movie gave you an instructional booklet.
Right. No, it's nice working in a more professional environment. I'm learning there's all kinds of stuff I do that is not safe.
What you do at home, you do not do at work.
Oh, really great looking now. I do gotta clean up this edge a little bit that I missed right here.
Yes, that was a don't try this at home.
All right, man, that's looking so good.
On to the next one. Do a little podcast called True Grit. Talk about standing belt.
That is hilarious.
Uh, Paul says we never do anything. I didn't get to see the entire comment, but we never do anything wrong when we do it at home, right?
Right? That looks pretty dang good.
I think it do.
Bring it down to good. Oh my goodness, I'm not a dog. God, that's what it feels like. All right, got a 400 grit belt.
Ah. My back out walking up the stairs today.
Hands a little wet.
I did not sit with that question. You can use a lot of pressure when you are polishing.
No,
I can do that from here.
it should feel like it's the wheel. It should feel like the belt is pulling on the stone a little bit, but not a ton of pressure.
Yeah, you want to turn off your machine when you're changing your belt.
It's important that you turn it off to change belts. Now that would be impressive if you could change it while it was running. I don't recommend trying it though.
Well, we say do not do that. Too much risk, little reward. Someone can make that happen.
Well, if you hold the light still, I can see how good it looks. Has such a pretty agate.
What is the blade size on the PT trim?
It is an 8-inch blade on the PT. Is it really the PT8? I don't think anybody calls it that anymore.
Guys, so it's kind of like how the model saws had a different name as well. Fun fact, the Evergreen was named by my older sister.
Oh, really? What did it used to be called?
It didn't have a name. They
Oh.
called it like but my sibling came up with the name.
Huh.
That's okay.
Well, she is in marketing.
Yeah, they're product managers. Blade size, yep, is it 8-inch?
Oh, that looks great. All right. Let's bump her up again.
I'm gonna do something which you probably should do.
You definitely should not do that. What Tay is doing is scooping water out of the dirty side into the clean side because there's not enough water, although she should be scooping out of the middle tank.
We have
Uh,
to clean it anyways, but
But that can cause contamination. But we're still gonna put a fantastic polish on these. All right, got the 600 grit belt.
you better leave now.
That's not nice. We like Tay, at least most of the time.
Yeah, my dad says the same thing. Okay. I was in a bad mood earlier today.
Oh gosh.
My class was not fun.
Tay was definitely in a bad mood earlier. It was no Tay Reds, it was Tay Rage.
Oh, you're about to get that soon. When you're cleaning up the sauce.
You're helping me this time.
I don't know.
It is so relaxing to sit and polish something. I could get totally lost just grinding on this one piece.
Please don't. I would like to get home tonight.
Huh, who are you?
I'm your favorite coworker. I gave you compliments earlier. I said I wouldn't sell you.
I guess that is true.
Arguing for time off.
Tay is awesome. As much as I give Tay crap, I do like Tay. Although that was part of the fun with Tay is that we give each other crap all day. That's starting to look pretty good for 600 grit.
Cold blood, says Eric Keller. Great.
One thing when you guys are doing a dome polish, you don't want to focus on one area too long because you can cause fracturing because you're heating up a small point. So it is good to keep the stone moving and not just grinding on one area really hard and going really slow because you can actually cause fracturing, which will show up really bad on a translucent agate like this.
That dang light.
Grab another paper towel. Wow, that looks really good.
How long did it take you to do a dome piece when you were doing it for $50 an hour?
Well, if I'm doing production, something like this will take me about 20 minutes.
You can-
Well, that's because I'm going really slow, chit chatting, stopping halfway. Also, when I'm doing production like that, I'm not doing just one piece at a time. I'm doing a bunch of stones on one grit, and then I'm moving to the next grit and doing a bunch of stones. So it's averaged out. So, you know, it may take me 8 hours to do a batch, but then I average out how many pieces I got done in that time period. I'm not sitting down doing one piece at a time, then going to the next piece. All right. And we'll try the, sorry. That is a really bad habit. I'm gonna have to get used to not doing.
Oh, this is a flashlight.
Well, that's aggressive. Let's go into positive reinforcement, not negative reinforcement.
Belt. Like,
I can do it with a 60 grit belt. It's not advised, but I can.
like pretty great belts. Unbroken in.
Unbroken in. I'll tell you what's the worst is a Nova wheel that's not broken in. That's way worse than a 60 grit.
Some breakup time.
Break-in
break-in time. They're aggressive wheels.
Yes, yes, they are. All right, I think this is a 6 or 800 grit. A6.
I agree with the Nova wheel comment.
Man, those things hurt. Those ones I wouldn't put my hand on the wheel.
Honestly, I don't even put my hands close on them. But they do get the job done sometimes.
This is a Trizac belt. I think is what it's called. This is one that Sherman wants me to polish a bunch of stuff on to see how I like them.
How do you break in a wheel?
You grind on it,
With
a rock,
what kind of recommended rock?
something hard like an agate or a jasper.
Thank
Your first one should not be something you love though.
you, something to love. What kind of agate is this one?
This is a river crossing from Argentina.
Cross the river to get it. Quite literally, it's how it's made.
I know.
I don't know if they heard it.
Oh, it's called river crossing because it comes from across the river from Condor agate. River crossing is one of my favorite agates.
Oh, I like the Lost Money the most.
Los Bernitas is probably my favorite, but some of the river crossing are up there.
Camera, and I'm realizing it kind of looks like a horror.
The lighting, yeah, it's terrible.
We'll have so much better lighting in the new place. This is a temporary thing. But it gets a homey feel.
A homie like a dungeon.
Like homemade video that they play in the court.
Light, please. The finer it gets polished, the harder it is to get the water off. That's starting to look real good. A little bit.
This area you have two different directional.
Yeah, it's because I'm using silicon carbide, not diamond.
Explain that.
Diamond cuts better than silicon carbide.
There you go.
That's pretty much the explanation.
Why?
Because diamond cuts more consistently and it's harder. Silicon carbide wears down faster, so you can have an 80 grit belt. You use it long enough and feel like a 600 grit belt.
I'm gonna have you pause because all our lights got one turned off.
Okay, run around. It's just getting the lights come back on. They all pretty much shut off. That's these motion ones are really sucky.
How it doesn't look like we're in a dungeon. Beach,
Just-
not dungeon.
Just a little bit. What you were talking about, Tay, where it looks like the scratches are going in different directions. That's actually heat right there. That's not scratches. That's because of the heat. It's because I got it too hot and going in one direction and another. But we'll blend that with the polish. So it'll be okay. Normally, after I get over 600 grit, I use diamond.
All right, moving on. How long, how was the repetitive process?
This is very repetitive. You're basically,
To them.
you're, it was like, tell them how it's repetitive. And I was like, it's repetitive. Now, basically, I'm just repeating the same action over and over and over again, going through finer and finer grits to get that high gloss. You gotta get all those fine scratches. You sound like a little kid. That does not change my statement.
Like it's repetitive.
It's true.
Turning out so nice. Finish season, the Idaho sunset I've seen.
I polished it before.
Not change what I've seen.
I was just telling you what I've seen. I've seen me polish it. I don't think so, but I've got some killer pieces at home.
Here's something to tell you. I can't really hear me, but I wouldn't wet belt on a carpet. The carpet's gonna get wet.
It does tend to be a little bit more messy of a machine, especially if you get a lot of water going on there. That looks really good.
Oh, that's definitely good.
And these will look so much better after we buff them. All right, we'll do one more silicon carbide belt and then we'll buff them with the cerium.
That A16.
Yeah.
Paul said you're looking pretty.
I try. Oh,
Workout spot by his head. What?
oh, you're so funny, Tay. Tay's very amusing to be around, constantly laughing.
The more you laugh, the younger you get, type thing.
All around you, everybody would feel young then.
That was a diss or compliment, but I'm gonna take it as a compliment.
Something like that. Why are you showing them my freckles?
Does the bowl wheel have a buffing pad with it on the side?
So the bowl wheel has a flat disc, so you can change it out. You can use a flat grinding disc, or you can use a leather buffing wheel. Got it too far over. Oh, sorry. Sprayed Tay down a little bit because I forgot to turn it off. I turned the handle too far the other way. Got a good amount of water too. Let's say now this one, because it went so far off track, I'm just spinning it by hand and adjusting it. Hands are all. Yes.
Does the machine have a variable speed on it, or is it just one speed? You can change.
It is variable speed, and we're gonna change it to do the final polish.
What is the quickest way to drive belts?
To dry the belts?
Run it with the water.
Yeah, that's probably the fastest way. The Tay was saying the quickest way to dry the belts out is just to turn the water off and let them run for a minute on the machine, because the motion, the air going past it of it going around will dry it out.
Belt's on right now.
This is 1200 grit. As a Trizac belt. These ones are a little bit thinner, so they're a little bit more finicky to adjust.
So what belt can come with polishing wheel?
Yes, it does come with the leather polishing wheel.
I have over. So it's thinner when you put it on the belt.
It is, this is a very thin belt. It does have a unique smell to it.
How it-
Well, the series of testing them would just be to put them through normal use. And if I like them in normal use, then I use them.
they're not our belt.
Oh, yeah, Tay was saying, so this belt that we're using right now and the last one are not belts that we sell. They're belts that I'm testing to see if we're going to sell them. So Sherman got some that we're testing to see. And so I'll use these as if they're just normal belts. I'll try, polishing different things on them. And if I like them, then we'll go through more extreme where I put them through a much more rigorous, you know, pushing harder, polishing more aggressive.
How much the wet belt tend to take?
It's about 2 by 2 by 2 feet. Approximately. That would be 8 cubic feet, actually.
Sorry, 8 cubed feet, I just read
That'd be 4 square feet.
half die. Stop.
You're so funny, Tay.
So far, do you like them better?
This is the first time I've really used them, so
They take, you have to try them in different things.
yes. All right, that looks pretty good. Not a great polish, but not a bad polish. If I was using diamond, I would definitely get a more of a wet look on there. The cerium will make up a lot of difference. That's because I have the water running too high.
All right.
I have the water running excessively high right now.
On the logo, when it works well, that is next round is on the side of the saw to rough it out and then move up to 120 and up on the.
You can start on the side with a flat face, do your 80 grit, and then do the more polishing on the expandable drum. That's fine.
Oh, so weird.
That was pretty good. All right, let's switch this over. Now this is the one area I do not like this machine. Where'd my power strip go? Move the water out of the way. I know when you're standing in the way. All right, here, excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right. So on this machine, show the camera back here. You gotta have to like move the camera back in here. On this little, you take this cover off. So it's this little round plate. You take the 4 screws out of it. So we got that cover off. And let's go around the front. Where'd my screwdriver go? Actually, I can just use this one. And we're going to take this plate off. So I'll loosen that one. And then I'm going to leave the top one in so I can take the bottom 2 out and it doesn't fall off. Oh, apparently I did take the top one all the way out. Thought I left it a little bit threaded in. All right. Now I'll set that to the side so it's out of the way. Now this is where it becomes tricky. You gotta hold the flashlight so there's enough light to see. And now I used to be really good at this before I put the cover on here, because I'd take a screwdriver and stick and move the belt over. But it is a little bit more tricky with this on here, because normally I do it from the top. I haven't done it on this one since, and it's also hard with Tay standing right there. But this is the one part of this machine that I don't like. I have not, with this on here, I haven't found a good way to switch this over fast. I was much faster at it. So what I'm doing is I got this the screwdriver underneath the belt there. Now I'm just popping that over. So push it around. And then I'm gonna pull it all the way off and push it in there so that I can go to the back now. Come around to the other side. And also, I don't notice if I showed you guys, but when I was unplugging it, I did unplug the machine so that it can't turn on while I got my fingers stuck in the belt here. And now I want it on that bigger pulley. So that's the reason I took it all the way off the front, is now I can feed it around the bigger pulley there. All right, so it's on there. Go back around to the other side. Now I can take it and pull the belt over the lip here. And then my other hand, I'm grabbing the drum and I'm pulling it around in a circle. Perfect. Pops right on. That's the one thing I don't like about this machine, is it's a little bit more work than I'd like to change the belt. It's not too hard if you just use like a flat tip screwdriver, but that is my one complaint for this machine.
I don't know how you would design it for.
Well, John and I have been talking about making this a variable speed machine. So it's got a different motor on it. And now, safety, of course, I'm gonna put the cover back on so that nobody's fingers gets caught in those while it's running. So I'm just hand feeding the screw into the top there. And I'll use the screwdriver to put the other screws in. And on the screws, I generally go backwards until I hear it click or feel it click. And that way I know where they're lined up so I don't cross thread them. Sorry, I'm trying to do it so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So now when we turn it on, you'll notice, I'm just going to tighten that up. It's much slower. Well, you'll notice that we unplugged it so it couldn't come on while your fingers were in there. Let me plug it back in. That's the fast speed. We had it on the slow speed, I just realized. Okay, I thought we had it on the high speed. That was actually the low speed. This is the high speed now. That felt like it was cutting a little slower than I used to, but that makes sense. So let's switch it back over so we can use the cerium side. But that's the fact that you can see, you can hear it too when it winds up much faster on the high speed. That makes some true sense. So normally I run it on the high speed when I'm doing the actual grinding, but to do cerium oxide, you're gonna run it on the low speed. Bleed. Will you turn that switch off for me? Well, now you're gonna see me switch the belt back the other way. I guess that makes sense if I think about the ratio of doing.
Faster. Practice makes perfect.
That's generally how I learn, doing it a million times. Getting the yawn talk over here. All right, so now I'm gonna reverse what I did to get it off. I'm going to stick the screwdriver in and take it off this side. So I'm gonna get it all the way off so that it's easier to change on the back side. Then I can take and loop it around the smaller pulley. All right, well, now we're back to the slow speed. It's one of those deter moments.
Nothing beats Shims Mickey over here.
Shims McGee. Okay, Tay-Rets.
Okay, mine is a shut up. Mind your business.
All right, now this wheel is already charged with cerium, but I've had a couple people ask about it, so I'm just gonna recharge it. Extra cerium won't hurt it. John will complain, but yes, I gotta grab cerium though. You're standing in my way.
He doesn't even say excuse me.
You should just know.
You remember that? Not even teased that rock from last night.
That was not last night.
I'm so tired. Go ahead and do this.
All right, so I just added some water to this. This is a little bowl of cerium oxide.
What consistency did you make it with the water?
Well, if you look, I'm gonna mix it up. And so that it's a paste.
I say go for the texture of yogurt. Little chunky bit of yogurt.
Little chunky yogurt. Chunky yogurt just does not sound delicious.
Yogurt that's a little bit bad.
All right. So if you look, that's about the consistency I like. Kind of like a Wendy's Frosty. Right there. You can see.
Yogurt and coffee. Ooh, that coffee yogurt sounds.
All right. And I use the foam paintbrush so that I can literally just paint the cerium oxide all the way across the wheel. Just working it in with the paintbrush. I'm being pretty aggressive about pushing it in there. And I'm just gonna go across the whole wheel. This is way more cerium than John uses. I know because he tells me every time he sees this wheel.
And here you are recharging it.
Well, they wanted to see what I do.
I know, I know.
John works it in with his thumb, but ugh.
Get in there with. Okay, Mr. Clean Hand. Show him. Give him a hand. Show him the.
My
phalange.
hands are not as bad as John's, apparently.
Let me see those phalanges.
So
Do you want to get a manicure with me?
I think I'm good. Thank you, though.
Why?
I don't have any fingernail left to
No,
manicure.
it's to like help your cuticles.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, make it.
All right. So now that I got this paste all in here, totally charged with cerium. And when I go to use it again, I'll just take the spray bottle and do that a couple times across there so that it's not making dust. You can do a finer mist than that, but that's generally what I do. Let me put my, yes, if you're doing it dry, like using dry polish, you want to wear a mask so that you're not breathing the dust. And then, so my cerium doesn't go bad, I keep it in a little Loctite container there. And then the paintbrush goes back in the bag of cerium. Close that up so there's no contamination. Or you can just buy a bigger container and stick the paintbrush in there. All right. Kay is running off. Now, when we're polishing on the, you can stand there. When we're polishing on the cerium, you want it to have a pulling feel. Or it feels like you don't want it to feel like you're going to lose control and it's going to rip it out of your hand, but it should feel like it's trying to pull the rock. as Tay breaks the plug. And trips over 12 things because it's a mess in here.
Get some rocks.
What did you do to my plug? I think Tay broke the outlet when she stepped on it, or the extension cord. There we go. No, I turned it twice. All right. Now, you do want to be able to still touch the surface of the stone with your thumb. You don't want it to get so hot that you can't touch it. Another important thing is, you see all the cerium caked right in here? You want to make sure you clean that off before it completely dries. Otherwise, it becomes a lot harder. And if it starts to make a little bit, like you can see the cerium coming off there a little bit, I'll just add a little bit more water. You don't want to soak this wheel, but you don't want to be making putting tons of cerium in the air. All right. That's a pretty good polish. No, it runs about 1700 RPMs on the high speed. It's running about 800 on the low speed.
Motors at 1750. How are you pulling out the excess cereal?
Now, well, one thing I'll do if I use a textile gun. I don't have one here, but you can just use a spray bottle and use it on the highest power and just spray it really, really good. Good. And that gets a lot of the cerium out if it's still wet. I was just trying to get the rock. You were running away. Actually, you've been ceriumed.
How much
Actually, I think that's a measurement of torque.
What is the acceleration equation?
I don't know. You're the mathematician over here.
The acceleration of unemployment. What is it? M plus V equals alpha U sub.
Now, one thing I do want to point out that when I sprayed that rock Tay was holding, it would have been a big mistake if this was hot, like this one is that just came off the leather. You can see that river crossing now. Don't do it when it first comes out the wheel and it's nice and hot, because if you spray it with cold water, you can cause fracturing. But that's a take and get the light to go on there. That's a great polish on that. Woo-hee. Oh, this is all dirty.
You sprayed me with an. It went down my shirt. Those.
Yeah, those are great.
All right, back to the computer.
All right, now we'll answer questions. Yep, I went from 1200 grit straight to cerium oxide. You can actually go from 600 grit to cerium oxide, but I prefer a higher polish.
Decision making process. Rock versus secret. I also agree.
No. It's more fun when they can't hear you. They just hear my side of the story.
Silence in women in 2024. That's crazy.
Not women, just you.
Am I not? Wow. That's crazy. All right. I'm gonna not point this. There we go.
Have him get a pedicure. Oh, you guys are funny. On the cerium, I'm just using the water pressure from the spray bottle to clean off the excess cerium. If you let it dry out and get really caked on there, it becomes much harder to get off. But if you just spray it off after your rock cools down, you don't want to do it when your rock's hot because the cerium tends to heat it up. Should be just fine.
Oh yeah, spin.
We should do a spin.
Give me that. Put that in my pocket.
I prefer the wet belt sander and the CB8 for different things. If I'm only making cabochons, I would get the CB8. If I'm doing polished pieces, I would get the wet belt sander. And if you can swing it, get both because they're very complementary to have together. And I love being able to use both at the same time.
What if you were grinding a stone with arsenic, such as Bumblebee Jasper?
Second.
Mike Bruton, are you in the room with us? If you are, please leave a comment.
If I'm grinding something with arsenic or something toxic, I will wear rubber gloves, a respirator. That's pretty much the extent of it. I mean, you should wear safety glasses. You know, you can actually absorb a lot of stuff through the eyes. Wearing safety glasses is good, not just from like sharp things that may damage your vision, but you actually absorb a lot of things through your eyes. So having, you know, not getting that water mist in your eyes is good too. So safety glasses, well, I wear hearing protection. I can't stand doing this without the hearing protection on. Gloves, apron, mask. That's about all you need. If you really want to get fancy, you can put a fan blowing across you so that there's fresh air blowing across your face. And if you really want to get fancy, you put a hood over your machine that sucks the air out of the top of the machine from where the work area you're working on, and that keeps it really clean.
Or just do all your work on the top of a mountain where it's really, really, really windy.
Well, there you go.
Good ventilation. up there.
Fan, hood, or mountain.
I mean,
Alright.
I know a lot people.
Damn lot people.
I can't even finish. Holy. All right, Mike. I will. I don't know. I was gonna kind of.
Tay is like a passenger princess. She'll be like, Zeke, I need your help right now. And I'll come over. She's like, can you move that bucket for me for like 5 feet?
So, okay, those buckets are like half my body weight. Mind you, they're like 60 to 70 pound buckets. It's not just like a 5 pound bucket. No. He's asking me to lift 50% of my body weight. Don't mock me. You tell me, Tay, don't put your back out of place. Don't hurt yourself. And the minute I ask for help.
That's because the first day I was here, somebody
No,
said
we're not going to talk about that. No one heard that. Mike, we're going to show you what you won. This is lot 6287.
nice piece of the iron quartz. It'll look a lot better when it's cut. It's a little dry at the moment. But this stuff's really cool. Make cabs out of it because it's very translucent. You get these, sometimes you get dendrites in there, but you get these really cool iron veins going through it. It's fun stuff to cut. Congratulations, that's lot 6287.
I have the wet belt sander. I have some optical quartz, so should be using AA. Most materials would only require what would you do? Don't really want to be using the AA due to cost difference.
So on Tay's first, well, my first day, Tay's
Nope.
been here a lot longer than I have.
I've been working here longer than anyone.
She told me that she was not accident prone. She was like, generally, I don't get hurt at all. And every 5 minutes since that moment, she has gotten some form of an injury.
Okay, he talks like injury. I don't really have great depth perception. So like I'll like hit my arm or something or step on something and I'll say ow. And then he's like, you're not accident pro it doesn't count. I'm talking about serious injuries. Don't talk about the Wonderstone. We'll not be friends if you do.
She's the kind of person to get cut on a butter knife.
I've never cut myself in the kitchen. That's so rude.
To get back to the
It was
rocks.
Wonderstone, not a butter knife. It
To
was
get back
worse.
to the rocks, cerium oxide. So there's lots of different cerium oxides out there, but what we use is semiconductor grade, which is the best cerium oxide you can get. A grade is a very clean, very pure, high grade cerium oxide. Double A grade is much finer. It's like what they would use in a laboratory for doing, computer chips. It's incredibly fine stuff. 99% of stuff you'll be just fine using the A grade. In fact, I pretty much always just use the A grade. If I'm doing something like optical quartz, rutilated quartz, something translucent, some really high-end pieces of obsidian, I'll use the double A grade. Excuse me. You get a really good polish, especially if I don't want any, you don't want to find any little scratches in there. But the A grade is good for 99% of stuff. AA grade is really good if you're working with really high-end stones or doing like faceted stones. Any other questions?
Oh wait, there it is. Oh no. Totally missed how you adjust the speed on the belt sander. But what are the ranges? For the wet belt sander, there is 2 speeds, high speed, lower speed. And it's by moving the V belt over to the different pulleys.
I would not say, well, your answer, John, where 5 feet is a little bit broad because that's square feet. So really it's about 2 by 2 feet is what the machine takes up.
But you'll need about, depending on your personal size as well and how much space you want or need, you'll also need like about 2 feet if you want to effectively use your polishing like
On the side.
wheel since it's on the side. So we typically, when we say 5 feet, we mean like factoring in about 2 feet for you to be using that wheel.
But you don't need 5 linear feet.
No, you don't need 5 linear feet.
You
But-
need about 2 square feet or 4 square feet for the machine. And then you need to be able to stand in front of it and on the side of it.
Yeah.
To be a little bit more precise.
How long should I expect to fill the Everclean before emptying the can? I think we answered that question earlier. Would the shield work on the 10 SS trim? It's for the that shield is meant for the 10 stainless steel trim saw. The shield special, not the hood.
And yes, the cerium oxide, it was just water that I was using with it. Nothing special. Just water to make it into a paste and then to keep it wet.
What can I use to clean up mineral oil?
Mineral oil, I like the floor sweep stuff, the oil dry or quick zorb. It works really good for soaking up the oil and then it's really easy to wash off after that. So I take it straight out of the saw, stick it in the quick zorb, and then rinse it off or go straight to polishing.
Can anyone tell me what the pile of black powder that's collecting under the brass nut on our tumbler?
That would be small brass shavings, and you need to adjust your tumbler. Let me show you actually that really quick.
Do you prefer the belt sander over the cabbing machine? It's not really a preference thing, like which one is better because they're meant really for different things. Like you can do cabs on a wet belt sander, but a cabbing machine would be much, much better suited to doing cabs, where a belt sander is much better at doing like dome polishings or like more dome polishings, but you can do flat polishings on it of like agates and stuff. It's much faster. How do you break in an overwheel? You just grind hard agate that you don't especially love.
The tumblers we do sell do currently have a speed adjustment, but it is a little trickier to adjust the speed because you need a very small screwdriver to stick in one of the vent holes and then adjust it. John designed it because he didn't think people would be adjusting the speed very often, but we are going to change that.
For making bookends, I honestly recommend if they're flat lap for polishing. It would be the fastest thing.
Actually, if I'm doing bookends, I'm doing them in the vibratory, like the
Or
R1M.
vibratory, yeah, the RONM, but that is a meter across. So
John is working on the smaller ones. He's got a 24 and a 30-inch that he's working on. And Jody, to answer your question, it depends on what size of slabs you're doing, which one I would tell you to get. If you're doing stuff mainly under 6 inches, I would say get the wet belt sander because it goes faster, it's easier to use, especially if you're getting started, and it's a much more affordable machine, especially if you're getting started. If you're doing stuff over 6 inches, get the rotary flat lap. What causes the cerium to harden is it's just drying out. If you just get it wet, or if it's really hard, soak it in water and it should soften up again. And then let's see. On the bookends, if depending on the size of the bookends, if I was doing bookends, I would be doing them in an R1M. But if they're small, I would do them on the wet belt sander. If they're too big for the wet belt sander and you don't have room for an R1M, then I would do the rotary flat lap.
I'm a flat lap fan.
The rotary flat lap is more work to get a really good polish than most of the other methods of polishing. I much prefer the R1M for doing flat polishing of like slabs and polish pieces because you just set it, let it go, come back, clean it up, set it again. And in 3 days, you got a perfect mirror polish. It takes more skill to be able to get a good polish with the rotary flat lap.
You were dissing my cab that I did on a flat lap.
And I will continue to.
You're a fake fan.
The rotary flat lap is the R1M is a reciprocating lap. So it's a big pan that does this motion.
Thank you, Michael. Anytime.
We do love doing these with you guys.
We get to get out of doing our.
The only reason I'm not wearing a mask tonight, a respirator, is because we're not really doing a lot of polishing, and you would not be able to hear me talk at all if I wore one. Normally, if I was going to be in here doing a lot of this, I'd have a respirator on. I don't know if cerium is bad for you, but
It is.
okay, but I would wear a mask either way, is what I was going to say.
It is not good for you.
And so it's a powder. I generally don't like to breathe powders.
Yes. It is not good for you. If you're going to do a lot of polishing and stuff, for the reason Zeke listed, we weren't wearing one so you could hear us, and we were only doing like very, very fast, 5 minutes at max. Wear your masks. Anything that's like, especially when you're working with rock, silicosis is a risk. If you're working with materials that can hurt you, such as malachite, bumblebee jasper, so on and so forth, even chrysocolla can hurt you too. You want to take proper precaution because it is not just there's a small risk. You can get hurt if you do not take care of yourselves.
Jack, I'm all for that. You just got to talk Sherman and John into it. I love traveling. To ask you the magnification question, especially if you have a harder time seeing like John when you get in them old eyes,
With his little glasses.
yeah, optivisors are really good. As a little like headpiece you can wear where you can flip down and see the magnification. Honestly, I don't know that John could get a good polish with that one now these days.
That is not nice. He doesn't even need to see the rock to get a good.
Well, that's
polish.
true. He probably doesn't need to see the rock to get a good polish, but he would be in there like he'll look at something I do, he'll be like all squinting at it.
But to be able to see the scratches, what we use is alternative light sources. Like we were using the flashlight, because it will pick up those scratches really well, especially if you dry it out. I highly recommend getting an alternative light source to be able to see those finer scratches.
You also just get a feel for it. Like you'll be able to what I really am doing when I'm turning the rock around when you guys are looking at it, what I'm doing is I'm using the light reflecting off the surface to see imperfections and scratches. That's why I'm rotating it around looking at the whole rock. So I'm using where the little you can see that white dot where the light is reflecting off of it. I'm using that spot and I'm moving across the whole surface to look for imperfections and scratches. That's why when you see me stop and I'm holding the rock like this and rotating it around, that's what I'm doing.
I know, that's what I was laughing at.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, I'm a little sleepy right now. Take a macro photo of your finished work and you'll find.
That's
Yes.
exactly right, Jack.
That is very true.
That's one of the reasons that like I get crazy about scratches like that river crossing. If it was sitting down by myself, no one else was here, I would have taken that to 50,000 grit because I can see tons of scratches in it. Even though the polish looks good to 99% of people, like I will be able to see all the flaws in it. So it really drives me crazy if you can see any little scratches in there, which is why I generally go so high on the grits.
Again, depending on how far you want to take your polishing, it will affect price if you're cutting for either production or selling your work.
That is true. For some stuff, I would take as high as 200,000 grit on the wet belt sander, which is insane.
It's also important to point out some things you will not be able to get a mirror finish on. It is just the nature of the rock. Like Wonderstone would be a pretty good example. It would be
That's untrue. You can put a great polish on anything with enough epoxy.
give me one.
I could make this thing glow with a mirror shine if I epoxied it enough.
Without epoxy, without
epoxy,
stabilization.
no, this would not take a good polish.
There's some rocks that like if
I'm
you
just
do want a
harassing
mirror,
you.
yeah, he is harassing me. If you do want a mirror polish, like a sandstone based conglomerate or whatever, you'd have to epoxy it, or stabilize it. But if you're doing a really soft stone, like a sandy stone, you're not gonna get that mirror finish. So that's something to just be aware of. Don't drink that, you're gonna go to bed soon.
Yeah, hey, look at that. It is late.
He walks in every morning going, we drink energy drinks. I do the same thing during the live sales. He'll walk in and be like, I went to bed at 4 a.m. after drinking a energy drink at midnight.
For the record, last night I was only up late because somebody had to go back to Boston.
True. That is very true. I like
On
to-
the Milk and Diamond, I haven't done that a ton. What I was doing is I would mix it in a little clean jar and pour it a little bit at a time on there. I should ask John what he uses because he probably has a better method than what I'm doing.
Jody, you are so right.
Yeah, except for the coffee argument is coffee may not be bad for you, but all the syrup and sugar
it
and
black.
cream.
Drink it black.
Ugh, and then you'd be able to taste it.
No one's asking you to drink it with all the additives.
I'm just saying, like what you drink is not any healthier than that energy drink. I saw what you got.
I don't say it's healthier. I just say it's better.
It's disgusting.
It has less sugar.
It tastes like coffee.
It has less caffeine as well.
That is true.
There we go.
Let's adjust one of these tumblers because I want to show people how to do that because I've had several people ask me about the black shavings.
Oh, wrong thing. Okay. Let's change the camera for me.
1 second, let me run around.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. There he goes. Look how fast he walks. He's so speedy.
All right, on the tumbler, you're gonna just loosen these two screws on the plate here. It has nothing to do with how lined up these holes are to perfectly centered. Loosen that up a little bit more. All right, so you can see I got this totally loose here. There's plenty of play in it. What I'm doing is lining it up so that it's not touching on either side, and I'm making it parallel. So now it's not touching where the barrel will ride in the center at all. But you can see if you look at the hole, it's the slot, it's not centered on the slot. So each tumbler needs to be adjusted. And then I'm just going to tighten that down. So now those are tight. Now you won't get any shavings on there because it's not rubbing. So that's all that needs to be done. It only takes a few seconds.
You're like a fruit fly.
A fruit fly?
That's what Eric said.
That's hilarious.
Oh.
Great view of our feet.
Yeah. Cute little shoes. Oh.
My old man shoes.
They're great arch support.
That's true. They got that roll bar support.
I just ordered my inserts for my shoes.
Oh, that's nice. Any other questions you guys might have tonight? Anything else you want to see?
Can we expect larger tumblers?
I don't have a date for you. I know that John is doing testing now.
I actually have pretty big feet. I'm pretty tall.
You are tall.
I think her feet are the
Well,
same size.
Noreen just posted the recap for the deals. Mozambique Cabbing Select, really, really good stuff. Lots of great purples, pinks, whites, blues, fluffy balls.
Tubes.
Yes, all kinds of great stuff in there. Normally, 2 pounds would normally be $100. They kind of have that weird and funky. So normally it would be $100. You're getting 2 pounds for 75. So nice 25% off there. Equipment deal. If you buy a machine, you get 5% off the machine, 10% off the accessories. Yes, you have to buy a machine to get 10% off the accessories, but that's awesome if you want to buy, like a wet belt sander and all the belts to go for that. We are willing to test those out. How long is it? The equipment deal, if you want to decide the next day or two, maybe you're working out a deal where you're asking questions, getting a quote. Well, no worries, just email us and we'll get that figured out for you.
I will say, if in a month you say that equipment deal,
You can email me or the marketing team. Mine's Zeke at hplapidary.com. What?
you say your email every day. How did you forget?
I was like, is that right? Oh, I'm so tired. Thank you. You can send them to me or you can send them at marketing@hplapidary.com. We'll help you get them figured out. Oh, that's awesome, Daniel. Well, Tay claims that she's 5'9", but I think she's 5'8".
Yeah. Okay, you have like 2 inches with your hair. You just like pat that down.
I'm about, if I stretch, I'm 5'6". Yes, you can take the leather dome wheel off of the wet belt sander. It's just a couple set screws that holds it on.
My dad is 6 foot, so I take after him.
The leprechaun comments really come in this time of year.
Well, it's just you have red hair.
Short with red hair. Hannah and I did go one year. I went as a leprechaun for Halloween, and she went as a pot of gold.
They are so adorable together.
Oh, so do you guys have any other questions? Anything else we can help you with? Any machines that you guys want to see? Got all kinds of cool stuff in here.
Here's a fun fact. My dad is 6 foot. My mom is like 5'1". I was lucky.
We do not currently have the polishing pads for the end plates of the CB8. John has got them designed. We are just waiting for a shipment of them so that we can shoot a video and start selling them to you guys. It is going to be very similar to what the Intarsia machines look like, where it's going to be that plate that goes on the end. And then I know he's already done the felt pads. I don't know if he's doing leather or not, but that would be an easy thing to add on. Well, Jody, the first question I would ask anybody, and the most important, I think, is what do you want to make? Because if you want to make spheres, that's going to be a completely different setup than if you want to make cabs, or if you want to do agate halves, if you want to do polished slabs. Maybe you're doing carvings, knife handles, all kinds of stuff. So I think the most important question for you on what would be the most important machine for you to buy next would be, what do you want to make?
Well, we have to use different end cap on the CB8.
I'm not entirely sure, Daniel, but as soon as I get my hands on one, I will shoot a video on it because I'm really excited to have them too. The most versatile machine is probably, my guess is if there's not something specific that you want to make, you just want something to do a little bit of everything, the wet belt sander or the CB8 are going to be your go-to machines. The CB8 is going to lend itself better to cabbing and polishing smaller things. The wet belt sander will be better for doing a little bit bigger stuff. You can make cabs on there as well. You can buy all kinds of different belts for doing different things, but it's probably gonna be the most versatile machine. The high tone and the 12-inch precision saw have a ton of differences.
The main ones are, one is on roller bearings. The other one is on rails. It's a slide rail setup. That is the main one. One will have more precise and smooth cuts than the other one. They both cut really smooth. and the biggest difference actually, besides the carriage movement, is one is a standalone, the other is a tabletop.
And when Tay says a standalone, she means that it has its own legs to stand on.
It stands alone. Bigger thing, another thing which you can change is one comes with a vertical vise, or we call it like the old, that's the exact name. The retro vise, one is the vertical vise, and the other one comes with the horizontal vise.
And to be clear, the high tone saws, you can put the retrofit vise in, which is the same vise out of the precision 12-inch saw. The 12-inch precision saw was really designed to be the best saw for cutting agate specimens. Like the really high-end agates we were looking at, that is the saw for cutting that. The high tone saws were really designed to be more budget friendly. You know, you're getting started. It's a much more affordable machine to buy. Still a really good saw, but it's a lot more affordable.
Rhonda, the drop saw and the like motor saws, or like the gear feed saws, they do different things. You're gonna get rougher cuts on a drop saw. It cuts much faster. You're not gonna want to cut fragile material with the drop saw either. It would just fracture out.
To give you an example, I would never put an agate specimen in a drop saw. But if I'm taking a big chunk of rock and I want to slab it up to do, you know, cabs, or, you know, maybe you're cutting a geode and have something that's not high end, great for the drop saw.
Yeah, they do different things. If I were to say which one do I prefer, because it's more universal, it is a slab saw or a gear feed saw, feed motor saw.
If you can only have one, I would probably buy the standard slab saw. But if you're doing production, like maybe you're doing shows and you're planning on selling slabs, then that would be the drop saw would be a really good option, because there's days where I've cut 300 slabs in one day on a drop saw.
And it, of course, depends on what material you're cutting too. If you're like cutting opal,
You wouldn't want to cut an opal in a drop saw.
it would just explode.
Making pyramids.
When you say making pyramids, are you doing the resin pyramids, like the resin pour, epoxy pour pyramids?
I'm thinking he wants to cut pyramids out of rock.
I had to specify, because a lot of people make those epoxy pour pyramids where they have a bunch of like tumbled stones and stuff and they layer them.
Yeah, but that's more of a pour thing than a cut thing. See, he wants to cut rock.
Hey, this is why we ask clarifying questions. It's important.
Now, I will clarify that we do not really make a lot of towers or pyramids, but if I had to, I would use a slab saw, like a 16 to 20-inch slab saw with a jig in it to hold it at the correct angles.
Never assume it makes a blank out of you and me.
Yes, Ed, it really is.
So itchy right now.
Best for cutting large agates. Well, how big? Because that's going to be a determining factor. You know, if it's too big to fit in a 14-inch saw, you may need a 16, an 18, a 20, a 24. Maybe you need a 36 or a 45-inch saw. So if you're talking about big pieces, 5 to 6 inch in diameter, you probably want a 20-inch saw. Is going to give you a really good, comfortable range. You could get away with like a 16 or an 18, but a 20 would be my go-to. Because if you look at the price and the footprint, the 20 is one of my favorite saws. It's, you know, it's going to be more affordable than a 24. It's going to be a smaller footprint. It's not a massive amount more expensive than a 16. I mean, it's
An 18 is a pretty good bet too. Between an
yeah,
18 and a
but if I
20.
can pick, I'm taking a 20.
I know you like bigger the better,
That's right.
as the core drill sits in front of us. About 43 to 53 degrees for the pyramids. He was talking about the degrees for how he will like.
I think
angle.
John is working on a jig for that,
We have a
but
45-degree jig.
I think that's gonna be some special kind of jig.
You can get jig. So what we use for like pre-cuts. So if you're doing like a bunch of like a preform for a sphere. You can do preforms in a slab saw, and we have like 45-degree welded jigs. So you cut a bunch of 45-degree angles. You could make a similar thing. We do not supply them as of now, but you can get 45-degree just like metal welded jigs, or 43 or 40, like 53. It really depends.
What Jack said is actually really good, and that's what I tell people too, is to plan on about a third of your blade is what you can use. You can use a little bit more than that, but if you plan on a third of your blade, then you're going to be much happier than if because a lot of people think you can use half the blade. And it's not quite true. It's closer to a third than it is a half. So on an 18-inch saw, if you want to cut 5 to 6 inch rocks, an 18-inch saw is going to be about the smallest one. That's going to be, if you're planning on a third, because a third of 18 you're gonna be 6 inches. So that's a really good way to do it. You can cut a little bit bigger than that, but that's going to be that comfortable range, because you don't want to be maxing out whatever machine you're using every time you use it.
I want to cut apothecary bowls out of stone. I know a lot of people who do it by hand with a Dremel.
I know. I'm just wondering if that's something that John would make, those kind of special bits.
That is a like email John question.
Yeah.
Like, because John has built machines and parts and stuff just off request of other people. Where he's just designed one. He's very good at that. But that would be a really good question to pose to John.
Yeah, it would.
Good old Uncle John. You know what I used to call John growing up? Silly Uncle John. That was his name with all of me and my cousins.
The tables in here are all hand built, I believe, by Sherman, actually. And
No, it was by yours truly. I built all of these. With
I'm pretty sure
Sherman.
Sherman takes credit for it, though.
I was the one who threw my disc out moving these tabletops. What?
That's so funny.
You put 14-year-old me to work there.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Sherman said he built these.
I was the one who found this one for the cool angle table too.
Oh, that is cool.
He forgets.
John is working on an auto slabber, so it's really cool. What he described to me was a saw that is going to come down. It'll make a cut. It's going to be more of like a drop saw style. It'll lift back up. The vise will index over for the next cut, because a gang saw, where it's got a lot of blades, takes a lot of power and it's not as adjustable. This, you'll be able to set how many cuts you want to make and how thick you want the cuts to be, and you can have it vary from different sizes. It's going to be very, very fancy saw. And then it's going to cut. You move the slab, it's going to cut. So you can set it to cut a whole rock up. I don't know how far along he is on that. But he is working on it, and I'm hoping he gets it done by the end of this year, because I've been bugging him endlessly about it since he told me about the concept.
We just talked about the wire saw.
He is in the process of deciding if he wants to build a wire saw. He's doing research on wire saws. It's something he's debating about whether he wants to make or not, but there is currently no firm decision to make one.
And I will give credit to Sherman. He did design and come up with the template of how to build the tables. I just followed when he built the first one. So I'll give credit where credit's due.
So Sherman was the engineer on that. You were the manual labor.
Yeah, at the time, unpaid labor too. I got rocks. I got rocks as a trade. Like everything's good.
Lots of fun rocks here.
I'm pretty sure it was a like big old sack of geodes back then.
You just say that so poorly. Big old sack of geodes. Tay says that, but then she's like, ugh, get that peasant rock away from me. I want a Laguna.
That's between me and you. You don't
She is so spoiled with high-end rock.
I mean, do a little 360. It's not my fault. Blame John and Sherman.
It's true. I did have lots of great rock before I worked out here. Or I moved out here, and even after I came out here, I was still like, ugh, I wouldn't cut that rock again.
Am I a rock snob? Actually,
Definitely.
no, I am, but Zeke is a whole new breed. I will pull up a rock and be like, I want to cat this, and Zeke's like, ugh.
Well, okay, the difference is, though, is that I grew up with more minerals and Tay grew up with more high-end agates. So there's agates I'll get excited about that Tay is like, I don't want to cut that. Get that away from me.
I
And
started
then,
learning
like,
on
Tay will like
this.
bring over this like god awful ugly piece of tourmaline and be like, look how cool this is. And I'll be like, ugh.
We do balance each other out.
So we kind of grew up with the exact opposites, which is why one of us likes certain things and the other doesn't.
I got so right over there is the second saw John and Sherman ever built when they acquired Highland Park Lapidary. I call her Petunia. She's a 10-inch saw. We don't even make 10 inches. She was a prototype.
This style is it's like the 12-inch precision saw.
Yeah.
You make 10-inch saws, but not this style.
10-inch, yeah, it's a 10-inch slab saw. And I got it when I was 11 years old. So this was 13 years ago when I started helping out with Highland Park. And that's when I started really getting involved with the saws because I got some guidance on how to start cutting rock. I got given a bunch of agates. And were they good agates? No. They were just quartz little balls. But that's how I started to learn how to like put things in a vise. And that saw is still cutting great. It is one of the best cutting saws I've ever cut on. I'll die on this hill. I have replaced every part on it though. But that tends to happen when it was built out
Except for
of.
the oil. That thing is so mucky.
You get to clean that. You did that.
When I got here, that thing was mucky.
And did you not contribute to the problem?
I added, but it wasn't me that started that.
And we made a deal. The deal was Sherman telling you to clean it.
Sherman never told me to clean it though.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
He told me he told you.
He lies.
He does lie.
Highland Park used to go to Tucson and set up at the Keno show, and show off machines and stuff there.
Quartzsite was their first show. This was probably about 12. Actually, no, this was 10 years ago before they really launched the idea of Highland Park being a manufacturer. Is after the 2008 whole crisis, they decided to reconvene and they went to a show. My uncle invited my dad to go to a show in Quartzsite. And at that show, they sold 30 saws that John had designed and built. And that's when they were like, I think Highland Park should go into manufacturing. Quartzsite was a big start.
Yes. I was not around for that.
I was at home.
Tay got left here to watch the store.
Well, it was a shed in my backyard. My dad had built his own, he used a shed. So basically my dad is pretty talented with designing. He's built a house as well. Is he took a garden shed and redid it, re-drywalled it, insulated it, installed air conditioners and a heater in it, had independent electricity, and made his own shed office. That's where it really came to be.
Well, and John and Sherman have a long background of designing and building things. They originally got into race cars because they were doing drag races, and
This is
I'm
back
sure
in-
it started even
back
before
in the
that
80s.
high
They were
school.
drag racing in Ohio. They were building drag cars and they worked in a bicycle shop building bicycles. This
Fun-
is like lore from this is
fun
lore
little
about
old
the-
history.
I got permission to share.
Oh, I didn't know we needed permission. I just overshare.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Eric. Well, awesome. What other questions do you guys have? Any of the machines you want to see? I
Any
know
personal questions
personal questions. Go.
about John, not about us.
Oh,
We're
okay.
boring. We just live in the warehouse.
That is true. Sherman was sharing about you the other day.
What did he say?
Oh, I can't.
All good things,
can't
I
repeat
hope.
That.
All good things, I hope.
Yeah.
No, don't say you can't say. I'm gonna look back through the recordings. I know where they're stored.
Oh, that's so funny.
What dark history did he share? Because I have a lot stored away.
I don't remember what he shared. I just remember him being like, "Oh, cute little Tay."
Cute little Tay.
Oh, he was sharing when you were butt naked in the creek. For those of you that weren't there the other
No.
the story Sherman shared, you were sent out with your sister to play, and you were told not to get your clothes wet or dirty. And so
To keep my boots on.
and to keep your boots on. That's right. It's an important part of the story. And the nice British lady from down the street came and informed your parents that y'all were in the creek butt naked with your boots on, And
You can't say I don't listen to directions.
so she didn't get her clothes wet and she had her boots on. The directions were followed.
That was so bad. I can't believe you shared that.
That was one of the first stories he told me about.
Stories. One. He doesn't share how talented I was at other things. No.
Oh, he shared that too. That's just the most memorable one.
Damn. Don't even look at my achievements. Look at my embarrassments. Parents are always trying to embarrass their kids.
All I
So
can
what
picture,
Your dad.
all I can picture is you as a little kid, like, "Come on, Paul, I didn't get my clothes wet."
In my defense, 99% of my stupid things I did as a kid was because my sibling's the smart one. I was the test runner. Like I was the dummy they put in the cars when they crash test them. My sibling would come up with these great ideas and go, Tay, you're the braver sibling. You should try it first. You're so brave and smart. And I'm dumb. So I was like, you give me a compliment, I made my day. So I did it. And then my parents would be like, Tay, why would you do that? And my siblings like, I told them not to. Yeah.
Right shoulder red dot. You talking about this machine right here? Or on the other side of me, this machine?
That's the ultrasonic.
This machine right here, right there, is the ultrasonic drill. It uses vibration and grit to drill through stone for doing like cabochons, beads, that kind of stuff. Oh, that's awesome, Daniel.
Negative
Oh.
is normal.
He did share the story about you sledding off the roof too.
Did he share the story about when I climbed a like 20-foot tree in the winter and I slipped and I fell headfirst down until my bootlace got caught on a branch and he came outside and I was hanging upside down with my arms crossed, really upset?
He did not, but that sounds really amusing.
Yeah. That was another fun thing we did. I think that was like a couple months after the sliding off the roof too.
Awesome. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I think we should look at the pictures of some of your guys' work and then call it a night.
We'll be doing this again next week. But what are we doing next week? Oh, we're going to talk about how to run shows next week.
We're going to talk about how to run a show. I think the main focus, because I think we're going to end up doing it as a couple of these cut and chats because it's such a lengthy process. I think we're really going to talk about what your focus should be, how you should focus, what machines you should get, and how you're going to set up for those. But I will be writing the script for that this weekend because I wanted to do it a little bit better than let's grab a rock and polish something format.
We decided, well, we got the permission to do a cut and chat this week yesterday. So we were rushing today.
So
And Daniel, I would love to hear your stories. I would love to.
I know it does sound like Daniel's got some interesting stories. All right. Well, I think there's some demand to spin the wheel, so we should probably spin the wheel.
Oh, I love chatting. Say less. Like if you give me an excuse to chat, I'm all here for it. Run, Zeke, my little fruit fly.
Happy.
Happy. Oh, that's a classic.
All right. Well, what'd you do with the other
Oh,
camera?
I turned it off.
It's probably in your pocket or something.
It was not, but I turned off the thing so I didn't get any unsavoring
Well,
angles.
this is lot 6286 because Tay turned off the other camera.
No, it's back on.
You want a awesome piece.
Wait, it's
of
back on. It's
red
back on.
plume from Indonesia.
Yeah. Oh,
Why don't you just break the camera? Why don't you? Gosh,
that's really rude.
we gotta get it wet. Well, it looks terrible dry, but this is a really nice piece.
Lick it.
Really dreamy. I'm not licking the rock. Poor Kathy. She doesn't want me to lick her rock.
See, Daniel's on the
Look at that
table.
green in there. That's a really killer piece. That's lot 6286.
All right, let's put this away now.
And while we're standing here before we look at pictures and head out for the night, just to recap the deal, we're doing a 2-pound deal of the Mozambique Calving Select. Normally it's $50 a pound, so it'd be $100 for 2 pounds. You can get it tonight for $75, which is really nice because John does not like to discount that material because it's so hard to get. Really great deal. I do have this polished one as an example. But they're gonna be smaller cabbable pieces. This is one that John had cut and polished. And on the equipment, if you buy a machine, you get 5% off the machine. If you buy a machine, you can also get 10% off the accessories. So I mean, you know, you get an Everclean and then get 10% off the Everclean tank and the pump. You get the oil. I am counting the oil as part of that deal, even though Tay objected. See, you guys should like me more. Haha.
You did. Zeke did not talk to me. We did not discuss this. He just dumped it on me.
Well, that's
I'm the one who had to think about the logistics of these things.
well, Carl. As I said the other night, if you double the price, you can get half off. You know?
Quick math, quick math.
Oh, that was funny.
Don't say that. I don't.
And Tay is jumpy, little spider, and she's like across the room.
I don't know. Like, this is a big warehouse. It's 1.6 million square feet, the entire building, and it's like 300 years old.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's haunted.
Don't say that. Bad juju. I will turn you into the ghost.
I'm not supposed to have a Ouija board.
You're gonna need a Ouija board to contact you soon. I swear.
All right, let's look at pictures of you guys' work.
Something by share.
Oh, that was so funny.
Thank y'all.
Oh, look at some of the chocolate swirl from
Kathy's.
Kathy.
I have not seen a finished piece of the chocolate swirl.
I love that one on the left. That's
That almost
really
looks like
cool.
Polish flint.
And I love that you use the chocolate background. That is great.
Oh, amen. It says chocolate swirl.
Yeah, that's excellent touch there. A plus,
Are you in marketing? Because you should be.
right? Some beautiful pendants from James. I like the soda light. That's pretty.
I like the shapes of them. They're very complimentary. Like when you wear them, gorgeous.
Yeah,
Like the finer, more delicate.
I do love the long, skinny look of these pendants.
Someone's gonna eat and break their teeth.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my. Okay. Let's see what's in there. I think I see Stone Canyon there. I'm looking at all this.
I'm looking at the Tiffany stone.
I'm looking at the ocean jasper, I think, right there.
Is that ocean jasper or oolite? I can't tell from the picture.
Me neither.
Lots
Could
of
even be
beautiful
river
stuff.
jasper.
Oh man,
Oh yeah, you may be right, actually.
I still can't tell. It was really pretty. Look at that crazy lace. That's
Is that
nice.
stromatolite?
Yeah, that's some of the stratolite. You got a
that,
nice little petalite, some of the
yeah.
Mad River agates. What's the blue one? Is that blue ice?
Twice.
Yeah, it looks really pretty.
A
I-
waterline, a Mozambique waterline agate right
Oh,
there.
with the tubes going through it. I do like that Tiffany stone though.
I like the egg.
You know, I've never really been an egg person. Oh, a beautiful piece of wood from Carl.
Make a table out of it. Sorry.
Man, Tay is obsessed with making a wood table.
Table.
Like every slab she sees of wood, she's like, "Can we make a table out of that?"
I want a table. Why can't you let me live out my dreams?
I said you could make a table.
I want a table.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. I
It's
hope
so
you
wonderful
enjoyed
hanging out with you
that.
guys. Y'all have a good night. Oh, and before you guys go, if you haven't already, please leave us a 5-star review. We absolutely love it. Man, we read them the other night after the cut and chat. We had so much fun doing that. So if y'all leave us a 5-star review, we'll really appreciate that. Y'all have a good night.
Good night. See you tomorrow.
Good
if
night,
you will
everybody.
join us.
Well, of course they're gonna be there tomorrow. We have a lot of fun.
True. We are.
And we'll have
coming.
some pretty rocks.
If don't come to buy, you buy for you. You.
All right, see you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for our Rough Rock live sale. Bye, everyone.